Welcome, Pokemon Go trainers, to history. History is about to be made today. You are joining for the Devon Season 3 World Championship Finals. To introduce myself, my name is Adellion. I am one of the admins for the Devon Corporation, and it's my great pleasure to bring this stream to you. Let me tell you a little bit more about Devon for those that are a little bit new to what we do. Devon Corporation is a solo grassroots Pokemon Go PvP format. Trainers battle every month in a varying limited meta. Every month that meta changes, and depending on how well you do in tournaments that are hosted by our affiliated communities, you will get points and rankings towards the Devon Corporation leaderboard. At the end of the season, which typically takes place in July, the top players from those leaderboards, plus a few invites from gym breakers and our own international showdowns, they all get invited into the World's Invitationals to see who will be worthy of making these finals. From those two invitationals, 8 players make it through to the top 8 of this World Championship Finals, which will now be a double-elimination format, and it's our pleasure to bring that live on stream for you to see. There are 8 brilliant trainers that are going to be playing the utmost talent or showing the utmost talent available to them, and it's in a unique format that has been developed by Devon. This is the Chrysalis meta. For me, I have also had the luxury of asking 6 of the best casters in the world to carry through this journey and show you the best of the best that the grassroots formats can offer. So with that, I want to introduce you to the first 2 casters that will be taking us through the winners round 1 and winners round 2 matches of this double elimination format. So this is Joqqs, who is a European caster hailing from Portugal, who represents Play Pokemon on the casting scene, as well as FishOnAHeater, who hails all the way from the land down under and has done some fantastic work on some of the grassroots streams that have been supported by our very own PvP Steve. So please give a big welcome to them as they tell you more about what you can see.
And hello, I'm on an official stream with Joqqs. That's so exciting. I'm so happy to finally be working with you. One of the best casters in the world.
Oh, you're too kind. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to it as well. Especially with the roster we have. Some of the 8 best players in the world. We have people that are mainly grassroots legends. For example, if you're following Gym Breaker, you know the likes of Emmy Weedle and Nickname always battling it out on the top of the leaderboard. And they got their invites through that Gym Breakers performances. And that translated to Devon because they swept each of their own invitational tournaments to get in here.
Yeah, so they are coming in here both looking like equal favorites among the field, but there is still plenty of other talent here that's looking to take that title away from them. Like, looking down the list, there's so many names that have all won regionals in the past, or if not regionals, then grassroots world championships and continentals and all sorts of accolades. So I know CGY Flames fan is a regional champion, SS Dawn is a regional champion. Has CalebPeng won one in the past? I know he's come very, very highly in a lot of different tournaments. I think he might have won one fairly recently.
I think it was 3rd, actually. But yeah, he did make it to the winners final, so performing very well in the Play Pokemon scene, and now, of course, in the Devon meta. Of course, in the Devon meta is not shabby at all. He's top 7 in the world, or top 8 in case of the World Championship, but he was actually number 7 in the leaderboard. And he got in there thanks to his performance on the Night Owl version of the Invitational. Of course, speaking of Devon, we have a couple trainers here that got their direct invites for this tournament or to be able to participate in the Invitational thanks to their performance in Devon. SS Thorn was the Latin America International Showdown champion, and CGI Flames fan was the North America champion of that one as well. Of course, Jason was also 2nd on the Latin American one, and everyone else either got in through ranking, like the likes of CalebPeng or Arrow Bubble, and then we have 3 players that got in thanks to their Gym Breakers performances.
And that's something that I think is really, really cool about the Devon format in particular, even more than what we had back in the Sylph days, which was, it's just, there's so many different ways that you can qualify, so many different pathways to the top of the mountain. And so a lot of these trainers have all taken different journeys, and they're all meeting here in this final battlefield to become the grassroots world champion. It's super exciting.
Yeah, and I'm kind of interested to see how the meta shaped out in the invitationals. Maybe we can see
Mm-hmm.
the early bird graph and then the night owl one, and then we can compare
Yeah,
it to
sure.
the adjustments that the trainers made going into the tournament. Because of course they had time to prepare, but apparently we're going straight into it because we have no
Yeah.
time to waste. We're gonna have SS Thorn, the Latin American International Showdown champion, is facing Jason, who was second in that tournament. So a bit maybe of a potential revenge arc for Jason here,
Mm-hmm.
trying to get the bragging rights back from SS Thorn.
Yeah, a rivalry, so to speak. And so I'm looking at these teams, and both of these trainers have the standard Lunatone and Oranguru, which is on almost everyone's teams. I know that Lunatone has the highest usage today, and we might take a look at the exact graphics later. But I'm looking in particular at the Gyarados on SS Thorn's side. I think that is a key Pokemon in this meta, with its ability to hit the Lunatones with the Aqua Tails very quickly. And if you do choose to run Crunch on it over Twister, which is an option, then you can secure a really good matchup against the Oranguru as well. So that's the two top Pokemon taken care of.
Yeah, that's actually a very nice meta call from SS Thorn. Of course, there's a lot of dragon variety in this meta. Dragon Breath damage is fairly unresisted, besides the trusty Togekiss that we see on Jason's team, one of the most popular 1-point picks due to that Dragon Breath resistance. But of course, Gyarados proving to be a Swiss Army knife versus the team of Jason, and looking forward to see if he's indeed packing that crunch. It has at least 3 targets, and you can hit for neutral versus a lot of Jason's team.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I didn't even bring up the Drifblim yet on Jason's side. So there's the Triple Flyer, which is a really cool call. So there is, of course, the one thing that the Flyers do really fear in this meta, which is that Lunatone. That's kind of the biggest thing that Lunatone is bringing to the table. It's got the Weather Ball, Ice, and the Rock Slide, and it can choose to use either one depending on the situation. Most of the time it will, default towards the cheaper energy boost, but then if you do need that extra little bit of damage on top and you can only get off one charge attack, then you might want to reach just the extra, so like 3 Psy waves to get to that Rock Slide, and it will do some excellent work itself.
Yeah, and I'm kind of curious about this 1-pointer pick by SS Thorn. We see a Turtonator, which we haven't seen at all in the teams of these trainers going into the Invitational, and this is an adjustment by SS Thorn. I'm wondering if potentially he's going to choose Incinerate or Ember. I reckon Ember might be slightly better because you want to pace faster to those super effective Brutal Swings against the likes of Lunatone or even the Turtonator. This is kind of shades of the of some metas we've seen in the past, and trainers ran both with high success, both Incinerate and Ember.
Yeah, absolutely. I would be keen to know the stats on how Incinerate versus Ember fares against opposing dragons when you need to reach for that Dragon Claw, because the Ember is, of course, a lot faster. The fire damage from the fast attack is resisted, so that kind of neutralizes a lot of the extra damage that Incinerate can generate for you, giving you that extra benefit in most situations. So my gut would tell me that Ember would be more beneficial for those dragon matchups, but I've been wrong so many times in the past. I'd love to do the Sims on that.
Yeah, and we see Drifblim in both teams. As you mentioned, a lot of Flyers are part of this teams of 6 there, and a lot of teams. And Drifblim is one of the Flyers that actually has a decent matchup into the Lunatone that's on every single team as the premier anti-Flyer, because, of course, Lunatone is part Psychic type besides the Rock typing. So the super effective Access or Astonishes, depending on what role you want your Drifblim to have, can prove to pay dividends in that matchup.
There is a very important question when it comes to the Drifblim. Joqqs, are we using Astonish or Hex?
I mean, if you're running regular Drifblim, I reckon you're more focused on the Hex variant to get off those icy winds faster versus the Flyers. But then again, if you running in a X Drifblim and you face an Astonished Drifblim, then that matchup is kind of dire because the Astonished Drifblim starts using Protect Shields and then just farms you all the way down, and that energy hits a lot in this meta.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the way PvP as a whole seems to be heading at the moment. Like anything with an energy lead suddenly becomes very, very dangerous against so many things that you wouldn't have expected coming in.
Yeah, and this why these trainers need as much coverage as possible to get their hopes up here in the first game of the World Championship. We have that Gyarados leading to the Lunatone. Pretty neutral lead because especially Gyarados paces at the same time with the Aquatail versus, a tempo of the catch. SS Torn is paying attention. Just before the Swift is reached, here goes the crunch on charge attack priority.
Yeah, so that attack would have been double resisted if the Aquatail had landed on the Kingdra. Wow, we do get the Shield of the Crunch, and so Jason is opting to protect it and save that Kingdra's health for a little bit later in the battle. Now we get the Swift coming back onto it and a return Shield from SS Thorn.
SS Thorn trying to get the last Protect Shield out of Jason. The pressure this Gyarados oozes versus this team is so high. It gets the second Protect Shield, and here comes Oranguru. Oranguru, one of the best damage punches in this meta, has great natural bulk, and with those the same type attack bonus Astonishes, will be able to farm down this King for sure.
Yeah, and this is a perfect time to bring that in because that Rangaroo knows that it's not going to have to wear an Outrage. The players do know about their opponent's movesets, so this Weather Ball is going to have to do the job. It's not going to KO the Rangaroo all the way, but now you think it's in Psywave range. It will have to eat a Trailblaze first, but that won't KO the Lunatone from there. We'll be able to get those Psywaves down to KO the Rangaroo from there.
Decent damage, but this will indeed be a Psywave down, and Lunatone is full of energy, has almost a Rock Slide loaded. Here we have a Gyarados on very low HP, and its own Lunatone for SS Torn. What Pokemon will choose to bring in? Here comes the Lunatone. It almost has double Weather Ball. Tries to go for a catch on the Gyarados, goes for the full farm down.
Yeah, that is a huge, huge play, and now two Rock Slides are going to be coming at the Lunatone on SS Thorn's side, and so the Rock Slide, as we established before, is higher damage, so if you're going to throw two moves of any type, you'd want to throw the higher damage move. The Lunatone will get the second Rock Slide off just before it goes down.
Jason flexing his patience. Look at that energy control. And now here comes the Oranguru. Oranguru, of course, will be able to reach the super effective Brutal Swing and is so healthy that SS Thorn is going to concede this match because there's no way Lunatone can take out this Oranguru. 1-0 for Jason.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what you were talking about before about Oranguru being the damage sponge there. SS Thorn knew that it would take two charge attacks to KO that Oranguru from where it was, which was pretty much full health. And so, like you said, conceding the battle, getting that, putting that Q in the rack, and putting Jason 1 point up.
And we just saw potentially why trainers aren't choosing Gyarados as much because, of course, you're a very powerful offensive threat, but then neutral Psywaves, neutral Dragon Breath that is shredding through your HP over time. And Gyarados, even though it got two Protect Shields, it also was out of the field very quickly. Great patience by Jason, though, holding on to that energy, going for the full Psywave down on that Gyarados, being able to throw double Rock Slide into the opposing Lunatone, and then Oranguru just had to Brutal Swing and kiss SS Thorn goodbye on game number 1.
Yeah, that was absolutely the game-winning point there for Jason. I also did like that switch out of the Lunatone right at the start of the battle as well, which meant that SS Thorn had to make that decision. Do I try and bank that energy myself, or do I keep the Gyarados in and take on this next matchup that came in, the Kingdra that came in? It's a really difficult decision. I think it might have been better in that particular case to switch it out because once you have that extra little bit of energy, you're now ahead of the Lunatone, and so if you can maintain that much more energy than the Lunatone when it comes back in, then you can actually outpace it from there, having that energy lead, and so those Aquatails would have come in real handy, and maybe stopped it from being able to unleash all that energy on the Oranguru later on.
Yeah, of course he did get two Protect Shields out of it, so it wasn't without any return, the use of that energy. And let's go into game number 2. SS Thorn with his back against the goal. We got the Kingdra lead into the Drifblim. This is a fairly positive matchup for the Drifblim because it's very HP weighted, and Kingdra has to go all the way into that Surf to deal significant damage.
It will get to the Surf before the Drifblim can get to its charge attacks, though. So it is slightly outpacing, and Drifblim knows it, and so it is going to throw up one shield. And then I would presume an Icy Wind would be enough damage from there.
And we see the power of the Shadow Drifblim. Will it be able to astonish all the way? Well, just about gets to another Surf. This is going to pull the last Protect Shield out of SS Thorn. And this Kingdra put in a lot of work in this match. Here comes the Oranguru resisting the Shadow Ball, so Drifblim will have to settle for the Icy Wind.
And this is a really key thing here. Jason has switched out the Pokemon, saving that last bit of HP from the Kingdra. So SS Thorn could not get the full farm down, and that is the working of this new meta that we are in, this new way the PvP system works. He was able to save that Kingdra, and so now it is going to be monkey on monkey action. One Brutal Swing is going to come through and take out about a third of the other Orangaru's HP.
And of course, both monkeys throwing the super effective Brutal Swing, but here we see a specific moveset from Jason running a Psychic type coverage move, potentially to hit opposing Togekiss is trying to protect his dragons, but in this matchup it doesn't come into play. Here comes a Brutal Swing, max energy from this Oranguru is going to potentially take it out and have energy to boot for the backline of Jason.
So that Oranguru goes down. We do still have a full health Lunatone in the back for both sides, and so one of them is going to come out now and is going to be met immediately with that Brutal Swing. Jason still has 2 shields to use. Will he choose to use one now? He does, and so that Lunatone will still be on full health.
All chips on the Lunatone. Here comes the Icy Wind, trying to debuff this Lunatone until the rest of the game. Gets the Protect Shield as well. This is very nice because now, since the Side Waves are debuffed in terms of damage, the damage from this Astonish, look at it stacking up. Maybe another Icy Wind just about doesn't survive.
It fools him with the same trick twice. That was incredible Lunatone play, and Jason is just getting there exactly when the Lunatone needs it to be there. And so Rock Slide coming in from Jason's side, it is not going to do too much damage to the opposing Lunatone. It's not going to quite take it into the yellow, and so we still have plenty there. We do have an attempt, I think that was an attempted catch of the Weather Ball onto the Kingdra, and that was the benefit of saving that Kingdra for that late game third shield situation, but not to be. The Weather Ball will come in from SS Thorn's side, and SS Thorn will manage to even up the scores.
And I feel like Jason was in such a tough position in this end game because he knew he had to clear that debuff from the Icy Wind from the Drifblim in order for the Rock Slides to get potentially the 2-hit KO on the opposing Lunatone. But then if you reset the debuff, you're wasting your potential catch and you're just giving energy to the opposing Lunatone. So you were stuck between a rock and a hard place, and he chose the middle option, which was throw the first debuff Rock Slide and then try to catch the move. Didn't work out. SS Thorn is able to even out the score. We have a game number 3. We haven't seen the likes of Turtonator making an appearance. Of course, Lunatone has been used by both players so much. I believe this is not the matchup for it. But I'm excited to see how much this Drifblim will come into play game number 2. He managed to dodge the Oranguru, which is the main Astonish resist in the side of Jason. This particular thing about this meta is that Oranguru is the only normal type that actually doesn't take super effective from Icy Wind. So that's why I feel like Drifblim is such a strong pick as well. And yeah, it put in so much work versus that Kingdra trying to go for a 2-shield final. Kingdra just about survived to get to that double surf. But even then, SS Thorn persevered. That energy went everywhere in the end game.
Yeah, and there were so many moments like that that had me thinking that Jason had the upper hand here, and SS Thorn managed to pull out the win in the end quite comfortably. I'm looking at that Gliscor because there is a lot that the Gliscor would fear from Jason's side with if it's running Fury Cutter, which we were kind of talking before the stream is what we were expecting to see. However, we've seen Lunatone and Oranguru from Jason in both battles so far, and so maybe it's kind of a risk that SS Thorn can afford to take.
Yeah, it could be an interesting call. Maybe throw something different into Jason's way to see if he catches him off guard. Of course, if it didn't face the opposing fires from Jason, since as you mentioned, he's relying on that double Psychic plus Kingdra, I feel like Gligar could put in a ton of work, even though it still would have to shield those double super effective Weather Ball Ice from the Lunatone.
Yeah, for sure. And if SS Thorn is going to stick with the Gyarados, my tip would probably be to use it as a safe switch, a pivot, because doing that will enable you to get up that extra bit of energy, which, especially against the Lunatone, will be really handy.
We
Ooh.
have an appearance from Jason trying to switch it up. Here comes the Firo. Firo gets slightly outpaced by the Lunatone, and hence the switch out immediately into the Dragon-type Kingdra. Here comes the Weather Ball Eyes trying to put pressure on the shields. Jason no shields though.
Yeah, so we'll take the Kingdra into the yellow, just a little bit into that yellow before we bring in the Gyarados, which should be able to just tank a move and then farm all the way down, I would expect.
It's going to be so close, Fish. I think it's just about reaching another Swift. Will it be able to endure enough Dragon Breath? It's going to be to the wire, dies with it, faints with it, rather. And now here comes the Gyarados full of energy as a shield disadvantage, though. Here comes the Firo, but this Gyarados has so much energy.
Yeah, so two Aqua Tails should be able to do the job, especially from a Shadow Gyarados, and Jason is not going to shield the first one. I will be very interested to see if they shield the second one. Maybe not, because we know that the Firo is not going to have much use against... he knows that the Lunatone is there at the start. No, we do invest a shield in there.
Interesting, valuing the energy from the sphere, trying to take out this Gyarados. SSR says, Gyarados, you did your job, you can go back to your Pokeball. It's all in the hands of that Lunatone in the back and that Oranguru. Here comes the Oranguru, but is a turn ahead because Jason swapped right away, so he's going to reach this Brutal Swing first.
Yeah, and SS Thorn is in a commanding position because he also still has most of a Lunatone left available. So even if the Oranguru were to go down to Jason's Oranguru, there is still that Lunatone in the back that can sweep up afterwards.
Yeah, that Lunatone is so healthy. I think Jason is in such a rough spot behind energy and behind Pokemon HP, really. Even though both have two Pokemon. Here comes the Brutal Swing. Gonna potentially pressure the first Protect Shield? No. SSR chooses the no shield. He knows he can't endure.
Yeah, maybe just saving it for the Lunatone in the back. There is the only maybe saving grace for Jason is they do still have the Firo in the back, which can be used as a third shield option. It is on barely any energy left, and I believe it was on 0 energy as well, so it is just going to be used for cannon fodder at that point.
And here comes, tries to potentially catch a move, but this is just sideway farm for this Lunatone. It's almost at 2 moves right now. Here comes the Rock Slide, gonna put an exclamation point into this performance from SS Thorn. He's able to reverse sweep and manage to get himself in winners round number 2 of this Devon Worlds Championship.
Yeah, that was perfect. So a great team read from SS Thorn, enabling him to get the 2-1, and he will progress through the winner side of the bracket moving on.
Great performance by Jason, though. That game 1 win, that was wonderful play. Great energy management, and I'm sure we haven't seen the last of him. He will go down into the lower bracket and will have to fight his way, claw his way through this gauntlet of extraordinary trainers. But SS Thorn, as the Latin America International Showdown champion, still gets the bragging rights. He's able to defeat Jason in the rematch, moves on to winners round number 2.
Yeah, that's right. Jason is going to be cursing SS Thorn's name in their sleep. I think it's going to be a while before they get to match up again. And so I'm hoping that Jason will be ready at that point.
Yeah, and we see the pressure of the shadow Pokemon from SS Thorn, both Gyarados and Drifblim, putting in a lot of work, either through charge attack pressure or fast attack pressure. Man, those 2 Shadow Flyers are an absolute menace in this meta. And in the hands of such a skilled battler as SS Thorn, you gotta put up your A game to be able to defeat him.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, if my memory serves me right. The Drifblim versus the Shadow Kingdra matchup, Shadow Drifblim versus Shadow Kingdra, there were no charge moves thrown from the Drifblim, right? It was just a double shield farm all the way down.
Yeah, pretty much, but that did allow the Kingdra to reach the second surf barely on 1 HP, but then that energy went everywhere into the end game. It was able to double Icy Wind both the Oranguru and the Lunatone in the back, and that set up the end game perfectly. We have some results from our other games. I believe only one of the other matches has concluded. Emmy Weedle, who also won the early bird tournament on the qualification. He actually faced SS Thorn in the finals of that qualifier and did beat him, but both are here in the World Finals. And he did beat Arrow Bubble 2-1.
Yeah, so Emmy Weedle will be progressing through the winner side of the bracket. We don't know who his opponent will be yet. It will be either CGY Flames fan or Gideon, HAFC. And we also don't know the other opponent of the other matchup either. We know that SS Thorn has progressed through to that winner side of the bracket. We are still waiting on a result from the K-Pine versus Nickname matchup, which is one I'm excited to see.
Yeah, and I see in chat Maya is asking, is this tournament in a theme? If so, which one? Yes, it is a closed meta developed by Devon. I believe we can take this opportunity while we wait for some other games to watch the early bird usage and then the night owl usage, and potentially compare to what we've been seeing. Of course, that Lunatone and Oranguru are on every single team. It seems pretty much Togekiss being the number 3 user on user. That's interesting because Togekiss is a 1-point pick.
Yeah. So, and for those who don't know, it was a point structure team building meta where all the things at the top of the meta were 2 points to use. There was some middle tier things that were 1 point, and then everything else was 0 points, and you had 12 points to spend. So you could. Oh no, was that right? Did I get that quite right, or did I?
Let me see if it's 12 points. I'm not. Yeah, it is 12 points exactly.
Yeah. Where I got it wrong was the top tier ones is 3 points to spend. So 3 points, 2 points, and 1.
Yeah, and the way it works is if you want to have one of those top tier Pokemon on your team, you mandatorily have to have a lower tier 1-pointer Pokemon in your team. Togekiss apparently was the preferred 1-pointer by most players, but of course we saw SS Thorn choosing a Turtonator, which I'm looking forward to see if it has any play down the line. We see in terms of 3 points, Oranguru seems to be the favorite, though I know both Nickname and Emmy Weedle, who won respectively the early bird and or Night Owl and early bird respectively in this case, they both use Cresselia. So I'm kind of excited to see if that has a bit more usage. Though SS Thorn opted for an interesting strategy, which is he has 2 3-point picks, which is that Gyarados and that Oranguru, and that means he had to settle for the Turtonator, and I'm not sure what's the other small pick. Maybe it's Gligar. Yeah, I believe Gligar is the other 1-pointer.
Because if you go with, let me try and math the math here. So if you use 2 3-point picks in your team, that leaves you 6 other points to spend. You've got 4 more Pokemon to use. So you could maybe go with, you'd have to use at least 1 more 1-point pick, and then you could you fit 2? No, you couldn't fit 2 more.
Yeah, so I actually did the math because I was helping someone play this tournament on the qualifiers, and you can actually have a full 2-pointer team, and for each 3-point pick you choose, you have to pick a 1-pointer. So the worst you can have is 3 elite picks, and then you have to select 3 tier B picks of 1 point.
So are there any of these 3-point picks that you feel like were a little disrespected heading into this meta? Because I'm looking at, say, we haven't seen any Jumpluff whatsoever. I don't think we've seen any Slugoo. Are there any other picks that you think could have been a bit more widely used?
I wonder if Mantine was potentially underused because you have access to that Twister, making you a premier anti-dragon, which we see trainers opting for that Togekiss in that role. But then you have Ice Beam for opposing flyers, so potentially would make you dominate those flyer versus flyer matchups. And we see there's a lot of flyers in teams, even 3 at a time in some teams. So potentially Mantine could be interesting, but Oranguru is so safe. How can you deter away from it?
I mean, we've established that there is opportunity to run multiple 3-point picks in your team. I do like the balance of the point distribution in this particular meta, so it leads to some really interesting decision making.
Yeah, and I'm kind of curious if we're gonna see some of the picks that were inserted in the meta, meaning that they were banned because of typing, but then they were inserted in the team. I know that someone like K-Pine used that Jellicent on the qualifiers, and I'm wondering if it could have any play in this meta. I guess it's a very solid anti-Lunatone, because you
Yep.
resist that wearable ice and you have super effective surf. But then again, there's a lot of normal type and even super effective ghost type pressure in this meta. So I'm wondering if we'll see any Jellicent.
And look, Alolan Marowak is a Pokemon I just like. Whether it'll be useful or not, I mean, it does have the Hex and Bone Club or Shadow Ball, which are both super effective against the Lunatone. Obviously, a Bone Club on its
Hmm.
own will not KO the Lunatone, but it can certainly do some very handy damage if it is on low health and it gets there so quick with the Hexes.
Yeah, but it kind of has that difficulty that Firo is in a lot of
Hmm.
teams, and if you have a Pokemon that whose energy goes everywhere, and there's a risk of you getting switch locked into it, it's always dangerous. But then again,
Mm.
it has a lot of merit versus some other picks.
Yeah.
Interested to see if we're gonna see the likes of Mew, for example. I know that Mew sometimes in this close matters could be a nightmare to deal with because you can mold your Mew set in a way that it fits perfectly on the needs of your team. So wondering if any players for those 2 points feel like, oh, Mew could be interesting.
I believe we did have a Mew in one of the lead-in tournaments, the early bird or the night owl, but it has not
Mhm.
shown its face in this world championship tournament, unfortunately.
Yeah, and kind of interested to see what other picks trainers selected to
Mm.
potentially core break this meta. I'm interested to see if Vespiquen is going to make
Yeah.
some usage. Vespiquen is an interesting Pokemon because technically it has an abysmal typing, right? Flying plus bug type is
Yeah.
usually comes with a ton of weaknesses, but then Vespiquen has such high stat product, and then the coverage move it has for this meta, it has X Scissor that hits super effective on the likes of Lunatone and
Yeah.
Oranguru, but then it has access to Power Gem versus the opposing fighters. And those Power Gems hit hard.
Yeah, like harder than you'd think from such a low attack Pokemon. So Vespiquen is absolutely something like a spicy core breaker little pick that I would be excited to see in the meta. Uh,
Yeah,
we did
and
we
yeah, go
did
for it.
get the look at the early bird top eight. Can we also get a look at the night owl top eight and see if there are any differences there? I'd be interested to see if there was any difference in
Hmm.
usage.
Yeah, that's a good shot. Let's look into that. And we see the top three
Mm.
actually are the same, right?
Hmm.
Even the
Yeah.
top four, even. But then we see some more Kingdra showing up in this as the fifth position, the main dragon type. And I kind of like Kingdra just because you don't have to shield the Weather Ball Ice from the Lunatone.
Hmm.
And you have such a nice bait move in that Swift that could potentially pull shields to then launch that devastating outrage or potentially surf if you're a bit frail to opposing Togekisses.
Yeah, absolutely. I've always liked Kingdra as a very safe option in any meta it's allowed in. We see that with the Drifblim, it's only a 13% shadow usage, which I find very interesting. We saw the amazing power of Astonish on a shadow Drifblim earlier, so it looks like that might have been the play to run the shadow with Astonish there.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting that you mentioned that because the profile of Driftblim stats is that it's a very HP weighted Pokemon.
Hmm.
So in these one turn metas, it kind of strives because yeah, you can have a Shadow Dragon Breath user, but if you have to take down 200 HP, let's say something like that, then it's so hard to take out. And then again, those Astonishes take a significant chunk at a time on the Shadow variant. But of course, I feel like the regular variant also has some merit. It stays longer on the field, of course, and
Hmm.
also it can work as a setup Pokemon launching those icy winds to reduce the offensive prowess of opposing teams.
I'm going to test you here, see if you know this one off the top of your head. Does a regular Drifblim, can it tank a second Brutal Swing from an Oranguru?
So
What do you think?
we don't count on the confusions, yeah. So straight two brutal swings thrown
For the
on
purpose of
100
the argument, I
HP
think we'll go, yeah, just straight back to back Brutal Swing.
back to back. I believe you tank them.
Yeah, right. Whereas I don't think the Shadow would be able to.
Yeah, though that's the thing, and with that confusion damage, same type attack
Mm.
bonus. Even if your coverage moves are not stab, you put Pokemons in easy ranges for your
Yeah,
kind of low damage charge attacks to KO, and that's kind of the beauty of Oranguru in this limited methods. It also had some prowess in the play Pokemon circuit. Of course, LAIC also had 100% Oranguru
hmm
usage. So yeah, it's no stranger to these closed metas, and once again showing that it's a very viable pick.
yeah. All right. So we've seen the usage of the two tournaments leading into this meta. Let's take a look at
Hmm.
what's happening in this tournament. Let's get the top usage for the current tournament that we are witnessing now.
Yeah, that sounds fun. And for the viewers at home that are watching, we actually have the semifinal set because we have Gideon who came from the Gym Breakers qualification. He played on the Night Owl tournament. No, I believe it was Early Bird actually, and got his invite there with a 4-1. He actually beat CGI Flames fan, our
Ooh,
reigning North American International Showdown champion 2-0. And then we have the inevitable nickname being able to withstand K-Pine with the 2-1 victory. So the semifinals are set. We're going to have
excellent.
Amy Weedle versus Gideon, and we're going to have SS Thorn versus Nickname. Some very good matchups coming up.
Yeah, well, it's sounding like a regional finals in a play Pokemon setting already. So, keen to see how that goes. While we are waiting for them to come up, are we able to, bring up that meta graphic once again? So we can
Yeah,
talk
that would
about
be
some of these Pokemon
nice.
we are expecting to see. Because I did notice that Lunatone is 100% usage for this one. So it looks like after some careful consideration and some usage data, everyone's decided, nope, this Lunatone, this is the source, this is the way, this is the light.
Yeah, and as such an interesting profile in this meta that is full of flyers and, of course, resisting the same type attack bonus confusions from that Oranguru gives it so much value in this meta.
Mhm.
Of course, we also see Firo jumping all the way to top 4 in usage, which I find very interesting. I guess you have super effective drill run to hit that Lunaton for a hard super
Mhm.
effective damage, but I wonder what it picks up specifically. Maybe it's just such an offensive powerhouse that people have to respect it.
Yeah, I would imagine that it would have the neutral win over Oranguru because you can't ramp up the confusion damage with Trailblaze because those Trailblazers are resisted. So you're having to get to the confusions and brutal swings, rely on those. And I think Firo, while it doesn't seem like a particularly bulky Pokemon, it can tank a brutal swing and some confusions, no problem. And by the time the Oranguru gets to its next attack, Firo's fired off 13 drill pecks. So I think that may be the appeal of that one.
Yeah, and maybe trainers were recognizing that I want to protect my two psychic types
Hmm
as much as possible. And Firo has such a dominant matchup into Vespiquen because you're dealing super
Yeah.
effective damage the whole way. Even if they reach a power gem, you shield that up, farm it all the way down. That energy goes everywhere. So I reckon maybe that's why Firo has been rising in usage because it's kind of the ideal bodyguard for the two psychic types versus the Fury Cutter users. Also, we see that sneaking of that Turtonator in the top usage. Of course, SS Torn didn't showcase it on stream, but I'm
hmm
hoping to see it once more. And we see the second dragon of choice apparently is Reggie Drago. Reggie Drago has his legacy Dragon Energy that hits
Mm.
for such hard hitting neutral damage. And when Dragon is fairly unresisted, I can see why it could have some play.
I am a huge fan of Reggie Drago. I used it in a recent Go Battle League meta to great success. I gained hundreds of points with it, and so
Hmm.
I just really love the combination of Vice Grip isn't a weak move. If even if you do bait and they
Hmm.
don't shield, like you are still doing some reasonable damage with it.
Yeah, and we see an interesting pick that we mentioned. It won both qualifiers for this top 8 world championship here from the Devon Corporation. That Cresselia
Mm.
that was chosen instead of the Oranguru, and maybe why Oranguru isn't at 100% also. Cresselia is kind of interesting because you have access to Moonblast to hit for versus the dragons, and you have such high stat product that you can tank multiple charge attacks from other Pokemon, and you also have access to Grass Knot that hits for super effective versus the likes of Lunatone.
Yeah, and of course the Lunatone is the only thing that the Grass Knot is super effective against, but that is, of course, when we're seeing 100% usage for the Lunatone, that is a very handy tool to have in your toolbox.
For sure. On that top usage, anything else that you're surprised to see that didn't make an appearance?
I think I have already talked about, preached the good word of Gyarados. I think that is probably, by the look of it, the most underrated pick that we have. As we look at the next matchup, we've got the first game of Winners Round 2, and that is Weedle versus Gideon.
And Weedle, if you've been around the Pokemon scene, especially Grassroots, of course, he has his merits in the play Pokemon circuit as well, but in Grassroots is known as the king of Grassroots. He wins a ton of Grassroots tournaments. He's always either number 1 or number 2 in the Gym Breakers leaderboard. So if you faced him in Battle Frontier, you probably know that he gets insane win streaks there as well in the highest tier of European competition. So, and it's showcasing that Cresselia. So I'm looking forward to see the play it has versus the likes of Oranguru and the likes of other picks in Gideon's team. Gideon, of course, choosing a double fire strategy with both the Togekiss and the Fearow.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of flyers in just 2 matches so far. Fearow, I mean, I'm interested to see how Fearow does against Cresselia, because it's kind of an unstoppable force versus a movable object situation. You know, what's going to win the day? Is it the firepower that Fearow brings or the bulkiness of the Cresselia?
Yeah, I guess it kind of depends on if Cresselia opts to run Confusion or Cycle Cut, because if you're running Confusion on Cresselia, I reckon Confusion's plus a Moonblast should do the job versus the Fearow. But then again, you're so slow, and those drill packs come hard and fast.
Yeah, because then if you decide to run Confusion, then how does that affect the Oranguru matchup, for example? These are all things I'm really interested to see play out.
Yeah, and of course, the main differences on both teams, of course, all both trainers choosing 4 picks, the 2 flyers with Togekiss and Fearow, and the double Psychic on both teams. But then Gideon choosing for Kingdra plus Drifblim that we saw showcased in the earlier match of the day, when Weedle did indeed go for that Gligar and Cresselia.
Yeah, and that would be the 3rd flyer on Weedle's side as well. So another triple flyer situation. And again, we're seeing a situation where they're running into a Drifblim on the opponent's side, which can really scare you out of using that.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested to see if that Drifblim will be the Shadow variant with Astonish, like SS Thorn showcased, or we'll see a more charge attack focused variant with that Axe. Both these trainers are trying to prepare themselves. They know this is a crucial matchup, because if you get yourself into that winners finals, you guarantee a top 3 finish, and I believe you're in the money already.
Yeah.
So this is a very important matchup.
Very important matchup. I don't think we have mentioned that very much at all yet, is that these guys are playing for cold hard cash, which is amazing. Like, it's not something that you expect when you jump into your grassroots tournaments. It's not something that's on your mind that you could be making money from this as well. But yeah, these guys are playing for actual prize money as well, which is super exciting and adds a layer of pressure. Just a little sprinkling of pressure icing on top.
Yeah, I reckon if you asked any one of these guys, they'd say, "Oh, I did this for free, no problem. I'm just having fun out there." But if you can have an extra incentive, a good chunk of prize money to potentially fund trips to in-person tournaments, for example, or other dreams that these trainers have, it's interesting, and it's an extra incentive. So looking forward to see who locks in the first slot of the grand finals or the winners finals.
Yeah, and so I'm trying to take a look and think about, like, how would I construct my teams if I were either one of these players. I'm looking at that Cresselia on Weedle's side, and I think the only thing it's truly scared of is the Drifblim, and so I'm thinking maybe that might be solid as a lead. And if it's running Psycho Cut, or Confusion as well, because that's very high in energy generation, it can choose to maybe build up some energy and then switch out for later on as well. It doesn't have to be just a lead specialist.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that you mentioned that because both Oranguru and Firo with a bit of an energy and turns at start can flip a lot of matchups. Mainly the Firo with a bit of energy can actually outpace the likes of Lunatone, which is one of its main checks. So I could definitely see that as the Cresselia lead and potentially the two normal bodyguards in the back. Also, something that's not shabby at all in this matchup is the energy from Emmy Weedle's Lunatone. If you look into Gideon's team, that hits for super effective into the 3 flyers and neutral on everything else. So that energy always goes places.
Yeah, so there's a lot of opportunity for a lot of these Pokemon to build up and then switch out. Just have that charge attack ready to fire in, because there's a lot of situations, especially in the late game, of most battles where shields are down and there's a Pokemon in the back, and if you time it right, there's really nothing your opponent can do. You bring the Pokemon in, we call it a snipe, we bring the Pokemon in, fire the move, and then suddenly maybe that Pokemon has all this energy that they are now burning. It's going to waste because they couldn't use it before KOing.
And I kind of like Emmy Weedle's team composition because even though he only has that one Dragon Resist in the Togekiss, he has a lot of Pokemon that are fairly bulky and can keep up pressure-wise with even a Shadow Kingdra. Cresselia, for example, we mentioned that can tank that energy for days and have that super effective Moonblast, and then that Lunatone forcing the Kingdra to go all the way to that Surf because Swift is resisted by the partial Rock typing.
Do you think that the presence of the Togekiss on Weedle side will scare the Kingdra into staying on the bench? Or do you think Gideon will find a way to use it?
I think that's a very interesting question, and the way I'd answer that is if you have a Kingdra on your team, just very much like when you have a Malamar in Open Great League, trainers that have them on their team, they're just gonna run it regardless. They don't care. They like the bait game. They like the offensive pressure that one turn move brings, the flexibility it brings, and of course the very special combination of typing. Of course, that water dragon typing makes it the only dragon combination that actually resists or takes neutral from that ice type weather ball from the Lunatone. Besides Turtonator, of course. Speaking of Lunatone, here comes in the lead versus that Cresselia. Of course, interested to see if there's indeed Grass Knot. There is indeed Grass Knot in this Cresselia. Here comes that Oranguru trying to pace ever so fast to that super effective Brutal Swing. Not before a Grass Knot is strong.
Yeah, and so we see the Cresselia is running Psycho Cut as well, so we can now apply all those implications that Psycho Cut would have over Confusion. And now the Oranguru on Weedle side is going to come out having benefit from the Grass Knot damage hitting Gideon's Oranguru and making it a much easier time.
Interesting, though, that the energy lead that this Oranguru was given means that it reaches double Brutal Swing first, and the first Brutal Swing damage appears to be around the same damage as the Grass Knot from that Cresselia. Here comes double Brutal Swing from Emmy Weedle coming through. Going to pressure, potentially Protect Shield from Gideon, or maybe Gideon's going to let it go, try to get farm on something else.
He is letting it go, and will it be enough to KO the Oranguru? It does get the job done, and so there is so much energy left. There is a whole extra charge move on Emmy Weedle's Oranguru side. It could be a Brutal Swing or a Trailblaze. Decides to hit the Brutal Swing, and so unfortunately that isn't going to do as much damage to the Lunatone as what the Trailblaze would have done, but any damage is good damage. You just want to chip away at this thing as the other Lunatone comes out, the opposing Lunatone, and now these two little spinning tops are going to be firing weather balls back and forth at each other.
Yeah, good heads-up play by Emmy Weedle, not allowing that side wave down. Here comes the first charge attack from the opposing Lunatone from Gideon, reaching another double weather ball. I'm not sure if it was charge attack priority, but it was very close to it. Here comes the first weather ball out of Emmy Weedle. I don't believe it's quite enough to KO. Just about survives. It's able to get on his own parting weather ball ice.
Yeah, and I don't think we would have seen that if the Oranguru had thrown the Trailblaze earlier, so little mistakes earlier on in the battle are adding up, and now the Drifblim is going to come out, and it can tank a Weather Ball, especially because it is a non-shadow, but it is choosing not to. It's like, please give me that shield. No, sir, thank you very much.
And of course, we see this is the X variant is going to be able to potentially farm this low health Lunatone, and it's going to be able to close out on double Shadow Ball. That Cresselia seems to be in trouble in the back.
Yeah, and we are seeing the power of the energy again. And oh no, but does not get there before the other Weather Ball. The last Weather Ball comes out now. Again, non-shadow variety. This probably won't KO. The Drifblim does survive, and it does have 2 Icy Winds. It's going to throw the first one into that Oranguru, and Emmy Weedle is going to choose not to shield that. No, he is going to shield it, so maybe hoping to get off another confusion, try and KO. No, we do get the Lunatone coming out, and that will take the Brutal Swing damage.
I like that play from Emmy Weedle, trying to potentially get that confusion damage onto that Drifblim. Drifblim closing in on a Shadow Ball. This is a non-Shadow variant, so I don't believe this is quite enough to KO the bulky Cresselia. Would be able to withstand the Hexes comfortably. Cresselia eats that Shadow Ball for breakfast, proving why it's a pick for Emmy Weedle. Gets game number 1 here in the winner semifinals.
Yeah, Cresselia doing some work there, and oh man, how nice is it to not have to worry about a Pokemon, like not have no shields, no worries, you know? The Cresselia is like, please, I got this, and is going to tank that energy that Gideon spent all that time building up, and it doesn't end up saving the day for Gideon.
Yeah, Emmy Weedle barely reaching that Weather Ball Ice with the Lunatone to chip that Drifblim of Gideon's side, and that kind of threw a monkey wrench into his plans, because if he didn't reach that move, it would have been so healthy. Potentially, you could have even farmed the Oranguru all the way down with X. It was fairly low. Maybe that's a bit too greedy from the non-shadow variant, but it would have been in such a better spot. Cresselia, though, showing that bulk, tanking that same type attack bonus Shadow Ball, no problem at all. He would have had to throw another move even to get rid of that Cresselia.
Yeah, I mean, how often can you say you're taking super effective, same type attack bonus Shadow Balls and just shrugging it off? Like Luke Skywalker in that last Star Wars movie just brushes the dirt off his shoulder.
And that gives you such comfort that even if you're running triple Psychic like Emmy Weedle just ran, right, you're comfortable that one of your Psychic types isn't even that worried versus the opposing Drifblim, the opposing Ghost type. So it gives you comfort in saving potentially the shields for the Lunatone, whose energy goes into a lot of places into Gideon's team. And of course, the trusty Oranguru will get those confusions up, and that X resistance is going to be clutch.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are seeing the power that Pokemon is bringing into the matchup. What about some of these other picks? We still haven't seen any Gligar action, and I'm feeling like it's just, it's just a bench pressure at the moment, right?
I mean, maybe that's why Emmy Weedle is comfortable in running triple Psychic, because there's no Gligar on the opposing team, but Gligar would have been very solid into that sort of line. Unfortunately for Gideon, wasn't one of his choices in this World's Finals. Gligar, if you're facing a Drifblim, especially the non-Shadow variant, meaning that your Night Slashes don't do that much damage, I'm not sure if you're maybe a bit of a sitting duck there.
That's the biggest fear that it has to face at the moment. And those Weather Ball Ices from the Lunatone are very scary to deal with as well. Yes, you've got plenty of win conditions as the Gligar, I believe. If you are running the Fury Cutter, I believe you're winning the 0s and 1s, or it might be the 1s and 2s in that situation, with one Fury Cutter of energy lead. But, you know, it's a very specific situation, and you can't always manipulate that into your favor.
I don't know, Fish, because I would have gotten lost as soon as you got a couple Fury Cutters, I'm not going to lie. But here comes game number 2. We have the Oranguru mirror, the monkeys facing each other, trying to see who potentially wins charge attack priority. And for Gideon, he's better hoping that it's himself, because there's 2 Pokemon weak to Brutal Swing in the back as well.
Yeah, and this is the first thing I look at when I see a mirror lead, is what is in the back. So we saw that both of them are running the Lunatone, and then there is the point of difference in the back with the Furo versus the, what was the other one again? The Drifblim on Gideon's side.
And Gideon did win that first charge attack priority. It seemed choose to not grow this time, going for the extra, potentially figuring out there was a swap incoming. Here comes the first Protect Shield, trying to keep this Oranguru healthy.
And so Gideon is now way ahead on energy, now has 2 Brutal Springs ready to go and is going to throw one of them. And with the amount of health that Oranguru on Weedle side has left, this should get the KO. And so Gideon is going to draw first blood here, is going to gain that switch advantage. And now Firo is going to come out. I think we're going to see a full Peck farm down.
Yeah, this is a terrible side because if you look into the backline, you don't want to take that energy from Firo anywhere, really.
Ooh.
Here comes another Brutal Swing loaded, maybe pull the first protection out of Weedle. Here it comes, potentially trying to go for a full pack down. But will you allow it as Gideon? No, here comes the Lunatone, but this Firo has already a bit of energy. Here comes back-to-back Brutal unloaded, gonna hit for super effective damage into the Rock type.
And gets there just before the Lunatone can get to that Weather Ball as well. So that is very, very clutch. You can see how much damage that first drill run is going to do. And is not going to throw the second drill one, is going to save it for later. And so the next, the Lunatone on Weedle side is going to come out, and Gideon's Lunatone is absolutely in Weather Ball range. Or maybe, if we've seen it a few times, maybe a Psywave down. We'll see how we go.
Such a smart play for Weedle because he knows that Firo will charge attack priority versus most of the meta. Here comes the Weather Ball Ice, trying to get the last Protect Shield out of Gideon. Here it comes, Weather Ball Ice. Gonna put pressure on this Lunatone, trying to shield it, potentially trying to see if Lunatone has a lot of play in the back. We did see, say in the cover that this energy would go everywhere. Another Weather Ball Ice is rich with 1 HP though.
Yeah, so how is this going to affect the rest of the matchup? We have the information that the Drifblim is that last Pokemon in the back. How much energy did Weedle manage to build up before that other Lunatone went down? Is it going to be enough? Is it going to be able to get to those 2 moves? We get the Oranguru coming out and is not going to be able to do anything. It just gives extra energy to the Lunatone, and so now the Lunatone is going to throw a Rock Slide. We'll see how much this does to the Drifblim. It might be a potential reach for a... Oh no, we get the Firo is going to come back out and is going to try and build up as much energy as possible before throwing a Drill Run on the double resisted Drifblim. The disrespect!
I think Gideon tried to pull his last ace with that peekaboo play, but unfortunately Weedle had pairs. A couple of charge attacks are enough to put him in the winners finals. We have the first winners finals participant locked in, and Weedle is in the money. He's guaranteed to win some prize money, but we know he wants more.
Yeah, absolutely, and he is on an absolute tear. He took out the first match 2-1 and has won the second one 2-0, so I feel like he's hit his groove now, but it is not over for Gideon. Gideon will just drop to the loser side of the bracket, where he still has plenty of opportunity to make a run towards the finals.
And I guess Firo does have some play. It's a very nice wall to that Drifblim Ghost fast attack pressure. So yeah, being able to also win charge attack priority. The Pex did so much that it was even in drill run range. Weedle looking confident out there in this Devon World Championships.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, the hexes are double resisted on that Pokemon. There's a couple of other Pokemon that we've talked about before that have the hex damage, like the Jellicent as well, if people chose to bring that. We saw that the Fury Cutter from Gligar would be resisted as well. So there's a lot of really handy things that the typing of that Pokemon can do for it.
Yeah, and I'm kind of interested if we can pull up the complete teams of 6 of all trainers. I believe production did have that potentially sorted or not. Maybe later on we could see it. But I'm kind of interested to see how these trainers try to break down this meta. As far as I can see, some of the matches we haven't had. Oh, we're actually going to have him next on stream, so I'll leave that spoiler free for everyone else. But I'm looking at some interesting picks. These trainers knew that they were facing rough competition ahead, and they need to bring their A game to be able to surprise them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the best of the best. It's the final frontier. This is, where all your training comes in, and you've got to put it all into practice.
Yeah, next up we're going to have Nickname versus SS Thorn. I'm very excited to see if we can, if we're going to see some interesting plays. Of course, we saw SS Thorn earlier on stream getting that reverse sweep versus Jason. Jason played outstandingly in that game number 1, but that Gyarados, that Shadow Astonished Drifblim put in so much pressure in the heads of SS Torn. So excited to see that we saw both variants of Drifblim, already seeing that this meta, even if it looks like it's the same Pokemon, there's some niche tags in terms of movesets that can flip some matchups around.
Yeah, absolutely. I am, of course, keen to see the Shadow Gyarados again, and I'm also keen to see Nickname just in general, because I saw that in the Night Owl qualifier, Nickname did not drop a single battle. So Nickname was on an absolute tear coming into this tournament. Now, did drop one battle against CalebPeng, so that is the perfect record, not completely intact anymore, but still just winning and winning and winning, and I'm keen to see if he can continue that against SS Dawn.
Yeah, and of course, Nickname, just like Emmy Weedle, he has that pedigree in the grassroots competition. Of course, an OG in the early grassroots, multiple continentals participations in the old Sylph, and now showing that he still got it nowadays. The kid still got it here in the Devon World Championships. One win or one series win away to getting into the top 3 and to the prize money as well.
So we've seen four battlers so far, and I'm going to put you on the spot again. I'm doing this a lot tonight. I'm going to say, who you got your eye on? Who, if you had to put your chips on a winner at the moment, who do you think has been playing the best?
I mean, I don't think you can really go against Sammy Weedle, honestly. I believe in grassroots.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
When you give him time to prepare, is such a menace. But I'm kind of hoping that someone else could at least make a name for himself. I know that both SS Torn and Nickname are both staples in the community, but maybe someone that already is in losers can make a sick losers bracket run and make his way back to the top. That would be a sweet story here in the grassroots Devon stream.
Yeah, absolutely. And so just as an update on that loser side of the bracket, we do have Aero Bubble, who lost their first round against Emmy Weedle, is facing CGY Flames Fan, who lost against Gideon. And we've got Jason, who we saw on stream earlier, against CalebPeng. And so the winners of those two matches will face the losers of these semi-final matches that we are witnessing now.
Interesting. Apparently, we have our first casualty. Aero Bubble, unfortunately, did go 0-2. He did lose to CGI Flames Fan, who's still in it, the North American International Showdown champion, still trying to get another deep run going. Of course, on the other lower bracket matchup, we have Jason versus CalebPeng. The winner of that will face Gideon later on.
Yep, absolutely. And so CGY will be facing the loser of the match that we are about to watch. So that SS Orn versus Nickname. I'm really keen to see this one. I'm so excited for it.
Yeah, and I'm kind of interested to see if these. I believe SS Orn made a lot of changes into his team. I believe in the qualifier. He had a Shadow Swanna. He had Shadow Dragonair. And now he just combined them both in one. He's running Shadow Gyarados. so I guess SS Storm did try to make some adjustments, knowing that he already knew the teams of the trainers that had success leading into this Devon World Championships. And SS Storm is no stranger to running some wild off meta picks. And here that Gyarados has proven to be a very interesting pick in this meta.
Yeah. This could be a matter of, like, for me personally, I sometimes like to just run Pokemon, not because they're particularly good, but because they are fun, and that's some things that I want to try. So maybe, I have no idea whether this is the case or not, but maybe SS Dawn just likes to construct teams with Pokemon that he doesn't get to use in Go Battle League or in play Pokemon very often. And, he had all this success with his Vespa Queen and his Shadow Dragonair and his Shadow Swanna before, and now he's like, okay, thanks guys for providing me with that entertainment. Now let's see where else we can go.
It's actually funny that you mentioned that, because SS Thorn is actually a content creator, and I know that he made a lot of challenges with other content creator friends of trying to get to Legend with Twitch picks, where people could subscribe, not really Twitch picks, but more so the subscribers could donate or subscribe themselves and ban certain Pokemon on the meta that SS Thorn was playing. And I know by the end of it, you just end up running some wild stuff. And as you know, SS Thorn is always on top of the leaderboard. So he somehow manages to persevere despite his chat trying to boycott his chances.
Despite everyone else's best efforts. And those are my favorite battlers to watch, are the people who can just make all those spicy picks work. And I think they're the most dangerous to play against as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's for sure. We apparently have teams going on. Mm-hmm. Of course, we're going to have SS Thorn versus Nickname. Nickname apparently took a page out of Emmy Weedle's book, because am I seeing double, or is this the exact same team we just saw?
I don't think. Well, Nickname. So Emmy Weedle didn't have the Cresselia, I don't think. No,
he did. It was the lead. It tanked that Shadow Ball. Remember?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, sorry, I was thinking that. I was thinking of maybe the last match we saw. Yeah, so that is exactly the same team. You're right. We do have the Gligar on SS Thorn's side doesn't have as much to worry about without the presence of the Drifblim there. So there is maybe a little bit more safety for the Gligar. Of course, there is still the Togekiss there that the Gligar is not going to want to see. On the other hand, we haven't seen any Togekiss action this series either.
Yeah, and there's not really a conventional Dragon on SS Thorn's team, so I wonder if it will even show up. But Gligar, though, being on SS Thorn's team, means that Nickname won't be as comfortable as Emmy Weedle was in running that triple Psychic comp, because Fury Cutter Gligar will just shred through that whole team. So kind of interesting to see what other solutions Nickname will come up with. I'm wondering if Turtonator will have any play into this team. We've yet to see him play in this competition.
I hope so.
Lunatone Mirror. The moons are staring at each other, and let's see who can potentially win Charge Attack Priority. Of course, if you're Nickname, you're pretty happy that you see Lunatone here in the lead, because you have Double Fire in the back.
Yeah, absolutely, and we see that one of them is that Togekiss, who is making its debut on stream for today. So Nickname is going to draw first blood with the Weather Ball onto SS Thorn's Lunatone, and it will take it into the yellow. SS Thorn is going to fire back with a Rock Slide, so both trainers choosing to play this matchup out slightly differently.
Yeah, Rock Slide doing a bit more damage. Charge Attack Priority, Nickname does indeed win at going for his own Rock Slide, trying to potentially pick up the knockout on SS Thorn's Pokemon. Is it enough?
Oh,
I believe it barely is. And this is good news for Nickname. The Lunatone is out of the way, meaning his Double Fire comp in the back is in a good spot. Potentially, he wants to align that Togekiss into the Oranguru to be able to wall the entire energy. So he's going to stay in with the Lunatone, throw a parting Rock Slide before getting Confusion all the way down.
Yeah, so I think the advantage is firmly in Nickname's court at the moment. I think I mixed my metaphors, but we are going to go with it. The Togekiss will come out as predicted, and it is going to wall all that energy, and is going to be able to get off a lot of pecks before maybe KOing itself. I don't think it'll be able to do a full farm down like we've seen in so many of these other matchups today. And, it's running Dazzling Gleam as its second attack.
Yeah, and SS Thorn is in a bit of a rough spot, because you actually need to put this Togekiss in potentially single Aqua Tail range, since it also resisted Dragon Breaths from the Gyarados. He comes in on Trailblaze, pulling the potential out of Nickname, because since it was already single boosted, it would put significant damage even though it's resisted. Here comes some confusion that you can't really shield. Here comes a parting Brutal Swing, Charge Attack Priority. Nickname has his counts unlocked, and this Oranguru put in such a ton of work versus Togekiss, who technically resists its entire moveset.
Yeah, huge amount of work. It's unfortunate for Nickname that they had to get rid of some of that energy that they worked so hard to build up, but it's okay. I think Nickname is still in a fairly good position. This Drill Peck is going to force a shield out of SS Thorn, and SS Thorn is certainly on the back foot. Those Aqua Tails are going to KO if they both land. There is, though, the shield in play that I feel like one of them is going to be used, surely.
I believe the no-shield from the Aqua Tail is the play. Potential open to survive, gets Dragon Breath all the way down. And now Gyarados is going to reach double Aqua Tail, potentially a Tech Shield on the side of Nickname. Can Nickname reach an Aura Sphere just before another Aqua Tail comes through? It's going to be so close, Fish.
I think it's going to get there. It does get there. And SS Thorn, despite all the naysaying, is going to pull this one out. He's done this already multiple times today, just when you think it's all over for SS Thorn is like, hold my beer, and gets the job done.
That Gyarados energy was insane. How can
Wild.
a 9-turn, same type attack bonus move do so much damage? I guess Firo didn't have just about not having enough bulk, and Gyarados proving why is the premier glass cannon in terms of these flying types. Getting a point on the board for SS Thorn. SS Thorn, if he wins another one, will meet Amy Whittle in the winners finals. But Nickname wants to keep his streak going. He's undefeated so far, and he wants to keep that up, reaching all the way into the winners finals.
Yeah, so how is Nickname going to adjust? We saw them play out the opening matchup was more or less the same. They just threw their charge attacks in the opposite order from each other. So they both knew that it would take a Rock Slide and a Weather Ball to KO the opposing Lunatone. Then it all just came down to, I guess, team composition in the back. Nickname just picked the Double Flyer, and we thought that would get the job done, but SS Thorn, with that Shadow Gyarados, managed to flip things on its head.
Yeah, and of course we have some extra information, which is Nickname's Lunatone wins charge attack priority, which could prove vital, because if SS Thorn wants to run Lunatone with the Flyers, and you can't really win that matchup, that energy will go everywhere, right? But SS Thorn played it perfectly. He was able to get an energy on that Oranguru, and we see the power of Oranguru. How come something that's throwing dark and grass type charge attacks into a fairy flying type is able to put it that low? That confusion damage is no joke, especially when it's getting ramped up by Trailblaze.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why we see it just at the top of any meta that it's eligible for, because it's got just enough bulk to enable it to do all these things. And then, like you said, ramping up that confusion damage. Confusion is such a good, I feel, underrated move. There's not a lot of Pokemon that recommend Confusion as its fast attack of choice and that are viable, and so we don't see it as often as I feel like we should.
Yeah, now that your Nickname, what can you do? Because I feel like you had the knife and the butter and the bread all in your hands, and you weren't able to get that toast ready to go, so you were in such a good spot.
And then it got knocked onto the floor.
Yeah, it got knocked onto the floor. SS Thorn said, "No toast for you, my friend." And now you're kind of thinking, well, I had such a good matchup there, and I wasn't able to win. Gyarados proved to be too much. Maybe you have to bring in that Cresselia, that extra bulk that's able to take charge attacks, and it's able to peel away protections from the likes of Gyarados, for example. Maybe
I think that's the
correct approach.
Yeah, that's definitely what I would go with too. But I mean, there is always that danger of that Drifblim showing up just where you don't want it. This is much better though for Nickname. As we established before, you are relying on the Icy Wind damage to get anywhere in this matchup. So SS Thorn will go with the pivot option of the Oranguru.
And being able to throw Drill Peck after 6 packs, taking advantage of that turn behind from the Oranguru, gonna put a significant chunk away from it. And here comes the Togekiss. This time, you don't really have enough HP to ramp all the way up to double Trailblaze, so maybe this Togekiss is looking for a potential full farm down, or to throw its energy just before another Trailblaze is reached.
Yeah, I would not tempt fate by trying to get a full farm down again. I think we are going to see one Aura Sphere, which will take that Oranguru off the field. And, I mean, not for nothing, Oranguru has taken out about half of the Togekiss's HP on its way down.
This is such a juicy opportunity to go for a reverse farm with the Drift Window. Here comes a Dazzling Gleam. It's going to pull the Protect Shield out of SS Thorn, but then you can farm all the way down. And as we mentioned, Firo is indeed a normal type, but it takes super effective from Icy Wind.
Yeah, unfortunately for SS Thorn, he won't be able to get up to double Icy Wind. The Firo has lost a bit of its HP, and it is a Shadow Drifblim, so we'll see how much damage one Icy Wind does. It probably will be enough.
He has to respect that Icy Wind for sure, but he's already in single Drill Peck range, even if debuff. But I believe SS Thorn doesn't want to figure that out. Here comes the Lunatone, met by the Oranguru with those super effective Brutal Swings who are going to come through. Not before potentially Lunatone throws a move. No, here comes the first Brutal Swing.
And I think both of those Pokemon, correct me if I'm wrong, I think both of the Pokemon that we just saw left with a charge move each, and so that'll make for a very interesting end game. It'll all depend on maybe the switch timer. One person maybe bringing their Pokemon out to unleash that energy onto the other before the other one is able to react to it.
Elite energy management by SSR, being able to charge attack priority with the Rock Slide. I believe this would be enough to KO. So here comes the shield from the Oranguru. It was charge attack priority. So potentially an undercharge gonna come through to not knock out this Lunatone. No, here comes the Protect Shield. Lunatone still has some strings in this matchup. Here comes the Fearow. Fearow has a lot of energy. Goes for the drill and predicts that catch. SSR tried to catch a drill run, but Nickname one step ahead.
And going for an undercharge?
Like undercharge. Is this enough? I believe the Drifloon had a bit of energy, but it's not going to be enough. The perfect undercharge!
Wow, that was so hot. I mean, the perfect amount of undercharge that enabled them to get the full farm down before the Drifloon could get to the next charge attack. That was expertly timed, precision play.
And I'm kind of wondering if there's going to be a review in this match, because it seemed in that middle game where SS Thorn had the Drift Limb, he tried to throw one Hex and then throw its move, but then the game made him do 2 Hexes and potentially threw off timing. There was a bit of latency issues there for sure. So I'm wondering if there's going to be a review on that matchup. For now, though, it's tied up 1 apiece, and both players have everything to play for.
And so Nickname did stick with the double flyer strategy, except leading with the Fearow. So ABA flyer on that one. Do you think that was the play? Do you think that was the strategy that they should stick with going into game number 3, or maybe a potential rematch of game 2?
I mean, that's kind of interesting because you're running ABA flyer, right? What if there's a Lunatone lead? What's your plan there? Do you just build up energy with Fearow and then try to catch a move on Oranguru?
I mean, that would have to be the play. It is a risky strategy for sure.
Yeah, I could see that as being the play, because if Fearow gets all that energy for very little HP drop, that energy is going to go everywhere in the end game. So, and Oranguru is the premier damage sponge there, right? And if you're playing a double flyer strat, you're very unlikely to face a Gligar into that. So Oranguru feels just pretty safe.
Yeah, absolutely. Oranguru, and I'm going to bring it up again, that Gyarados, like, that's fantastic as a pivot as well. You know, it's getting to the Aqua Tail in 9 turns, and if you use it as a pivot, it's even further ahead on energy as well. It's just going to span those things out so fast. I think that can be leaned on as well.
Yeah, I feel like what SS Thorn tries to do is make people over adjust towards the Gyarados, and that means potentially running the Lunatone, for example, or I don't know, the Oranguru, but then Drifblim has a bit more play versus those types of teams. I'm not quite sure yet about the dynamic these two have, but I feel like you don't really have a shared answer per se, because, for example, Fearow is kind of the premier Drifblim answer besides Oranguru, but Fearow gets outpaced by the Gyarados, so you just lose the head-to-head matchup, right? It's kind of hard to pivot around such 2 high-pressure Pokemon that demand different types of counters. You kind of have to guess which one is coming.
Yeah, which for me, I find very exciting. That's why I keep on pumping up, let's see the Gyarados, let's see the Gyarados.
Yeah, and I'm kind of interested to see if that Cresselia will indeed make an appearance, because as we mentioned, it's so interesting that even though it's taking super effective damage from a lot
Here's
of
the Gyarados! And so the Gyarados is going to come out against that Lunatone. They will get to their first charge attacks at the same time. Now, while the Rock Slide is going to be the super effective move, with the Shadow Gyarados being so attack-weighted, Weather Ball will just be enough, and so it can throw those, and the Gyarados is still forced to shield.
Yeah, and Gyarados spaces at the same time, so he throws the Aqua Tail just before another Weather Ball Ice's reach. There's going to be charge attack priority on the next one. Question is this Aqua Tail enough to KO the Lunatone?
We do get the catch, so we will never know. And the Oranguru is going to take that energy in Lunatone's place. It's going to use the substitute move. And so we'll see if what the Gyarados does. It does choose to get off just a couple of Dragon Breaths before getting out of there. And now the opposing Oranguru is going to come out. It does get that benefit from the HP drop on nicknamed Oranguru's side. And so it will get it very close to being in one Brutal Swing range.
Yeah, he transferred that confusion damage into his own Oranguru and is able to withstand double Brutal Swing since it's at full HP. Now you can build up as much energy as you want just before you have to throw double Brutal Swing. Here comes the first one. This will pick up the knockout, and Nickname is going to concede that Oranguru is going to come back to the Pokeball.
Yeah, which I think is absolutely fine. We've established just how much energy leads can do for you in the current state of the game. This Trailblaze is not going to scare the Togekiss at all, and so it'll be able to get off a couple of pecks. Not before the Lunatone will come out, though, and the Lunatone will be met with an Aura Sphere, a neutral Aura Sphere.
Yeah, Aura Sphere is neutral thanks to the part Psychic type of this Rock type Lunatone. Gets the Protect Shield anyway, though, since it's a very efficient move. Here comes the same type attack bonus Rock Slide from the Lunatone into the mirror. No Protect Shields on the side of SS Thorn, so he's going to have to manage his energy very well if he wants to get rid of that Togekiss in the back.
Yeah, and I think the reason for that shield earlier was because SS Thorn didn't want the Lunatone to be able to KO in just one move, had to throw two, and so that's what will happen. The Lunatone on SS Thorn's side will come out of play, and we do see that Gyarados is going to come back out, and the extra little bit of Dragon Breath energy does not get fired off, so that Aqua Tail is just going to stay there, stay in the tool belt of the Gyarados, and now the Oranguru is going to come out, throw half a confusion, and go down as well. So Nickname is going to maintain that unbeaten streak all the way through this championship tournament.
Yeah, SS Thorn was kind of in a rough spot in that end game because he had to maximize as much Sidewave energy generation as possible to potentially KO that Togekiss in the back. But then again, that Lunatone from Nickname already proven to win Charge Attack priority versus the opposite mirror. And it was Charge Attack priority on that Rock Slide versus Weather Ball Ice. Weather Ball Ice just enough to get rid of that SS Thorn's Lunatone. And that meant all that energy went to waste. From then, it was bad news for SS Thorn Nickname. Able to get the win. And we're going to see the winner of the Early Bird tournament versus the winner of the Night Owl tournament. I guess fate said that these trainers were going to meet in the winners finals of this Devon World Championships.
Yeah, all things shall come to pass, but that is not game over for SS Thorn, of course. SS Thorn will drop to the loser side of the bracket, where he will face CGY Flames Fan, and we will also get K-Pine versus Gideon in the other side of the losers bracket. We have Emmy Weedle and Nickname in the winners finals, though, and that's going to be really exciting to watch.
It's exciting to watch in terms of these are two of the best grassroots players in the world, and they had previous accolades to confirm that. And then again, the pedigree confirmed that they were meant to be in this winter finals, but they have the exact same team. So if you're facing a mirror matchup, how do you even leverage this? Because you might think, my opponent is a very hard grinder of the game, so maybe he only has high-ranked Pokemon and I win Charge Attack priorities. But then again, these traders are aware that they're going to face these mirrors all over the place, so they just catch them on that has a bit less stat product, but has higher chance of winning certain Charge Attack priorities. So this is where the grassroots and the prep comes into play when there's a mirror matchup ahead of you and you're facing such tough competition.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be interested to see if either of these players communicated with each other on their teams going into Worlds, because I know a lot of these players, like it's happening with Play Pokemon at the moment, a lot of the players who are competing in Worlds will all get into little pods with each other and theory craft together, so that can lead to teams looking very, very similar. So maybe there was some communication beforehand, these guys talking about, I like Cresselia, I like Ligar, I like this and that, or it could just be an astounding coincidence.
Well, they were the only trainers that brought Cresselia to the success tier here to qualify for the Devon World Championships, and then again proving that Cresselia is an outstanding pick in terms of the bulk that it provides to your team. But then again, if you're facing a mirror matchup, is there anything that could give you potentially an edge? Will we see potentially the Gligar coming through? Because we saw, especially Emmy Weedle, relying on that triple psychic team comp. And if there's a Gligar on the opposing end, you can't really get away with that. But that's why they covered it with the Fearow, with the Driftblim, or with the Togekiss rather, is just complete walls to that Fury Cutter Gligar. So this is where, for all the marbles, Fish,
Yeah.
the trainer that wins this has a massive advantage into the grand finals, because not only they'll be able to be undefeated still, but these trainers will have to be defeated in 2 best of 5s to be knocked down. So now
Yeah.
that we're getting into the higher stake games, we now have best of 5s instead of best of 3. So a lot
Yeah,
of time for
absolutely.
adjustments and potentially a bit more time for some risk taking.
Yeah, I like that analysis of it. It's an opportunity to take some chances early on, and then maybe lock down your strategy heading into the final games of the series, and you just get so much more time to accomplish that. And then, especially in a situation where your opponent has the exact same team as you, it might give you the opportunity to really get a good handle on the little nuances between some of those matchups. Like maybe you could understand that one extra confusion will put you, like one extra confusion worth of damage will allow one matchup to be flipped that otherwise wouldn't have, and having those Pokemon on your team enables you the opportunity to really discover those things, and that can be where the edge is.
Yeah, and kind of funny, Jason is mentioning in chat that 2 players from the Gym Breakers leaderboard are in the winners final. And it's kind of funny that he mentioned that, because I believe they're 1 and 2. Like they switch around with each other
Right.
depending on a specific week
They
or
take turns.
matchup. That does, yeah, they take turns pretty much. But they actually faced each other also in the grand finals of the Gym Breakers that I had the opportunity to cast as well. So I believe Emmy Weedle got the win back then for 2-1, if I believe. So opportunity here for Nickname to even the score potentially, but he knows it's gonna be a hard task. I'm excited to see what strategies come through in this absolute mirror matchup.
What do you want to see? Like throwing out what you think would be strategically optimal. What are you just most excited to see on your screen in front of you?
Man, I want to see a Gligar getting locked into a Cresselia, Night/Boost on the first one, and just go completely bananas. That's what I want to see.
I would love to see that so much. I mean, the Gligar just has not had the room to play on the court so far today, so we want to see it get its time. We want to see its coach sub it in, and for it to hit that 3-point shot late game.
Yeah, we'll see if it has any play, because we just saw a showcase of Fearow and why it rose all the way to top 4 in usage. That drill pack pressure as well as resisting the Fury Cut is one of the few things that doesn't really do that much fast attack damage into Fearow. If you give it space to farm up on you, then the energy goes absolutely everywhere, and it's pretty tough to stop.
Yeah, and that is why I absolutely love the reduction of the switch timer, because it allows Pokemon to like duck and weave through the course of the match. So you're not just stuck in there. You don't have to just like once a Pokemon's in, it used to be just do as much as you can before it faints. That's it. But now something like a Fearow really, really benefits, because it can throw a charge move, build up a couple more packs, and then dip out and then come back in later on after a Pokemon faints, build up a few more attacks, throw another charge attack, and then dip out again. It's just so dynamic now, which is so fun to see.
Yeah, and I'm being told by production that our trainers need a bit more time to get settled. So hopefully we can pull up the graphic that shows all the teams that the trainers chose to bring for the most important tournament of the season. Here we go. We have the top 8 teams going on. Of course, we see that Emmy Weedle and Nickname did choose to run the same team. But maybe let's talk about the teams that we didn't have an opportunity to see on stream, and that was CalebPeng, CGI Flames, and Aerobubble.
And so all three of them have at least one Pokemon that we have not seen on stream at all. CalebPeng and Aerobubble are both running the Vespa Queen. CalebPeng has also got the Shadow Swanna. And then on Flames fan side, there's that Regidrago that I mentioned before that I enjoy so much, and a Goodra.
Goodra is really interesting because it's a dragon that has access to Legacy Thunder Punch, right? Thunder Punch that hits for super effective into this flyer meta. And of course, it has such great natural bulk that it's even able to withstand something like a Drill Pack, no problem. Of course, we're also seeing CalebPeng with that double flyer or triple flyer, but double water strategy with the Shadow Swanna and the Jellicent. I'm still kind of curious on what Jellicent brings to the table. I guess it's a very good guardian to those flyers because it has such a dominant Ludotone matchup.
And I don't think it does too badly against the Oranguru. The Oranguru does definitely win that one on paper, but like there are win conditions for the Jellicent if you give it enough energy elsewhere in the battle. So like it's one of those damage sponges that we talked about before. So it doesn't have to worry about the first Brutal Swing / Trailblaze. It can soak that up and then maybe take that damage off the battlefield, come back in later when it's got a Surf built up and KO that Oranguru right in the late game.
Yeah, you definitely run Surf on it, right, for pacing reasons, because Jellicent also has access to Ice Beam that would potentially be very nice into this fireman. I wonder even if Jellicent just doesn't run Shadow Ball and runs Surf plus Ice Beam. What do you really need the Shadow Ball for? But there's Cresselia, I guess?
Yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, it can be good neutrally into some of those dragons and the fairies as well. But I mean, the only fairy around is the Togekiss, and you've got the Ice Beam for it. Yeah, I'm when you first said it, I was like, no, surely not. But yeah, I'm coming around to it. I think that is a really good heads up play.
Okay, we're getting told that the trainers are having an hydration break, so I guess the FIFA World Cup did create some trends.
We need to go to an ad.
We might know. I think they're done drinking water. And in Pogo, since they aren't running around, they're only running after the wind cons, but not really. They're stationary. Hopefully, at least I wouldn't want to be running and playing at the same time. Anyway,
I mean, throwing your phone against the wall can work up a thirst. So maybe grab some Gatorade for that.
All right, we're gonna have soon the battle in the winners finals. Both trainers have been elite in grassroots competition. Funny enough, both trainers qualified for the Devon World Cup qualifiers through Gym Breakers, which is another association that creates monthly, or maybe not really monthly, but on 3 months, right? Seasonal, seasonal, quarterly, maybe metas, where they represent their country, of course. Emmy Weedle right now playing for Team UK, I believe, and Nickname playing for the Polish side. So these trainers know each other very well, potentially even change some ideas in terms of team building, or at least reach the same conclusions. And apparently the solution is working out because they're both standing facing each other in the winners finals.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you haven't been involved in Gym Breakers in the past, I encourage you to give it a go. Find a team. They're creating every now and then. They just create more and more opportunities for you to get involved. So like when it first started, it was just every country had one team, and you just had to be among the best 8 in that country to get a spot. But now they have created opportunities for you to get in other ways. Maybe like there are limited opportunities to join in on a team outside of your own country, or there are secondary teams within countries as well. And so to ask around, talk to a friend, find out how you can get in on this, because it's a really fun, interesting competition.
Yeah, I heard like something like Team Turkey or something as like 3 or 4 different teams,
Right.
and they're always looking for players. At least I've gotten a couple of DMs before about it, so maybe reach out to them if you're looking to play some gym breakers. But I mean, it's actually one of the fondest memories that I have with grassroots competitions in general, because a lot of my locals I met through this back in the day, the Sylph tournaments, mainly during COVID, where we had a lot of online tournaments, and we just decided to join together in a gym breakers team. We just took a team that was like second to last on the leaderboard, and we got to top 6 back then. And we it was so cool because we insisted on playing every single game on call, just so we had that unity, and there's a lot of banter that comes with it, and it was an amazing time. Whenever in other times where there was a bit more time for it. We're getting told that the trainers are near lock-ins. They had their hydration break. They had time for a snack potentially, and they do need to lock in because this is for all the marbles pretty much. If they win this matchup, they're in a very good spot to take the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's a very good chance that this won't be the first time these two players face off against each other in this tournament, because whoever loses this one, of course, just has to go down to the loser's side of the bracket and fight their way back up to a potential rematch with the winner. And these two players are certainly best poised, I think, to be able to do that.
Yeah, and now I wonder if there's anything. I don't believe we saw Emmy Weedle's Togekiss, so I wonder if he did opt for that Dazzling Gleam that we saw on Nickname's team, or if he has something like Ancient Power for potentially better flyer matchups. Actually, it was something that was pretty popular in the game. Oh, we saw an appearance of Gligar, but it unfortunately meets the Fearow. This is such a bad matchup. Immediately swaps into the Lunaton met by the Cresselia.
Yeah, and so Nickname is all over this matchup so far. Emmy Weedle is in a bad spot right off the bat, but Emmy Weedle, of course, is a person who can take that lead and turn it into gold. Let's see what he does with it.
Look at the bulk from that Cresselia. That Rock Slide Tickle, the same type attack bonus from a fairly attack-weighted Pokemon. Here comes the first Grass Knot Legacy move from Cresselia. Does up a good chunk of damage. Is gonna need another one for sure to take this Lunaton out. Both trainers over farming as much as possible. Potentially the Lunaton gonna pull up the first Protect Shield, trying to maybe reach double Rock Slide to threaten shields from this Cresselia.
Yeah, and it's going to take double Rock Slide as well, because 2 Weather Balls are not going to be enough. Well, I mean, back-to-back Weather Ball would KO, but we do get a catch, and it is going to be now the Cresselia on Cresselia, a Cresselia mirror match here, which I did not expect us to be calling tonight.
Yeah, but this is good news for that Lunaton of Nickname side. He gets to avoid the Cresselia on Emmy Weedle side. Here comes the Drill Peck, charge attack priority into the Cresselia's Moonblast. Not gonna pull the Protect Shield, but is gonna put a significant chunk of health away from this Cresselia.
And the Cresselia is going to return fire with the Moonblast, and once again is not going to KO the Fearow completely. It is going to take a whole other Moonblast to be able to KO that Fearow. Now, both of these Pokemon are at a similar health range, but that Fearow, as we've established, is getting there, getting to that energy, that charge attack way quicker. It even gave Nickname the opportunity to farm up to almost a second one before having to fire it off. So excellent timing there from Nickname.
Cresselia being let go, banks the move on the Fearow because he knows it wins charge attack priority versus most of the meta. Here comes the first Night Slash, potentially a boost could pull Emmy Weedle's hopes back into this matchup. It's such a rough one. Here comes the first Rock Slide, back-to-back moves on that Lunaton, gonna pull the last Protect Shield out of Nickname's side.
And so Nickname will have to choose his timing of throwing the moves very carefully. We see another Rock Slide is going to come through, and I don't think it's in farmable range. I think if you try and farm it down from here, it is going to get to another charge attack, and so we get that charge attack thrown very nicely timed from Nickname. One Psywave before that Lunatone from Emmy Weedle's side can get there, and so the Lunatone on the left will disappear, bringing the Gligar out into a situation, into a matchup that it really wanted to see all along.
It gets the last protection with the Weather Ball Ice. Potentially wants to get out of there to not allow the farm down. But Gligar has so much energy. It can build up energy for that just before a Grass Knot is reached. Gonna throw the Night Slide. It's still behind a no, it doesn't have Protect Shields, but it's still outside that Drill Peck range. And the Fearow is quite low. Can the Fearow withstand enough Fury Cutters to potentially reach 2 moves?
Oh, let's find out. Did the Lunatone have any energy? No, it did not. And those Fury Cutters will KO it before it can get there. And so that Fearow, it is all up to it. It did have the Drill Peck ready to go. I don't think this is going to be enough. Gligar is fairly bulky, and so it will survive the Drill Peck, and it'll be able to get to that Night Slash. And Gligar, after seeing how monstrous that Fearow looked at the start of the match, is like, oh, it wasn't actually that scary after all.
Emmy Weedle got hard countered in the lead, got hard countered in the swap, but that Grass Knot catch on the Cresselia flipped the tides of this matchup. He was able to hold max energy on that Lunatone that was able to chip the Mirror Lunatone afterwards, and you could use that Cresselia's bulk to your advantage. Great play by Emmy Weedle, getting the first point on the board.
But we have seen that in the previous round, Nickname did go 1-0 down before and did manage to get the reverse sweep. So this is not a situation that Nickname is that is unfamiliar to Nickname by now. So I fully expect Nickname to have the ability to be able to overcome this deficit.
Yeah, and kind of interesting that you don't want to play your Togekiss in this matchup since there's not really dragons on the opposing side, and that means Night Slash from Gligar will hit for neutral to super effective into everything on the opposing team. So even versus the likes of Fearow, yeah, it's a fairly cheap and low damage move, but Fearow is quite frail, so Gligar, with its natural bulk, was able to pace the move so fast. It actually has a very good matchup here.
Aerial Ace was the second move. What are your thoughts there?
I actually didn't quite notice, but I guess if you're running Aerial Ace, you kind of want to have a coverage move to hit Togekiss. That's kind of the only explanation I can find for Aerial.
Yeah.
Because I was actually wondering, why aren't you running Return here? Because you're throwing Night Slash 90% of the time anyway. If you want a hard-hitting move versus the Flyers, you run a Purified Gligar, right? Maybe these trainers don't have access to it, or they have used to the coverage move. Let me confirm if it is indeed. Here comes the Gligar lead, so let's see if it is indeed that Aerial Ace coverage. Faces the Lunatone. Super effective. Fury Cutters will come through, but that Weather Ball Ice will pull shields.
Yeah, we do see it as the Aerial Ace, the second move on the Gligar. So I don't think we're going to be seeing that at all unless we do happen to see a very unlikely Gligar into Togekiss lock-in situation. We get one Weather Ball coming through on the Gligar, and now the Gligar is going to just hold on and be able to throw a Night Slash back. We saw how much that double super effective Weather Ball did to it.
Okay, Gligar, I wasn't familiar with your game because you tanked that move, no problem. Here comes the opposing Gligar, potentially trying to farm up to back-to-back Night Slash. Chooses to throw energy instead of saving it for a later day. Here comes the first Night Slash. It's not gonna pull a protection for sure.
Yeah, both trainers bringing the Gligar and both bringing Aerial Ace Gligar. So maybe this is what the reason for that move was. For maybe the opposing, like, slightly higher efficiency against an opposing Gligar is a guess, maybe. But we will see one of those Glygars is going to get off the field and Cresselia is going to come back in. Even though this is typically a good matchup for the Gligar, it is in a health range now where the Cresselia is not nearly as worried.
Fish, there's a reason we're standing behind our desks here, commentating instead of playing. These trainers know what they're talking about. Here comes the second Night Slash. Gonna put this Cresselia on the yellow HP. Throws the Grass Knot just before another Night Slash coming through. Elite counting by Emmy Weedle. Here comes the protection from Nickname.
And Nickname will be able to get off a lot more energy before that Cresselia can get to another Psycho Cut. And so that'll be back-to-back Night Slashes, which is exactly what Nickname does. So it's going to build to the 2 and then throw 1, and that will take the Cresselia off the field. And now it has another charge attack for whatever happens to come in next. We see it is the Lunatone, which is not going to like the Night Slash, but it does have the shield to hide behind.
Yeah, and there's that full health Cresselia in the back. I'm not sure if Emmy Weedle banked any energy on that Gligar, if it's only a sack swap. Anyway, here comes the Gligar. Oh, both simultaneous swap. Tries to predict a Night Slash guy. Here comes the Cresselia. And Nickname on top of his game. And I believe he's in a very good spot. A Grass Knot won't KO, but it will put a significant chunk away from this Lunatone.
Yeah, and I think the Cresselia will be able to tank a lot more charge attacks than what the Lunatone will. You can see how much that first Grass Knot did. Unfortunately, the Psycho Cut is not doing much at all, so it's probably going to have to... No, going to go for the... Oh, come on, Nickname. Come on, Nickname. Is going to Moonblast the Lunatone. Both of these trainers are guilty of the BM in the end game situation.
I was kind of hoping that Demi Weedle put up the protection because that felt like 1 HP and we don't get a shield KO often, so that would have been kind of fun, kind of good content. Anyway, 1-1, Nickname getting another game back, all tied, and effectively for all purposes this is now a best of 3 because they're both tied 1 apiece, so the first trainer to win 2 games now will get a spot on the grand finals.
Yes, super exciting. So both of these guys have sized each other up now. They know a little bit about the game style, the play style of the other, and they've got all the history of previous meetings to draw from as well. So as we've established, this is not the first time these two boys have gone toe-to-toe.
And kind of interesting that Oranguru showed for pretty much every game for these trainers leading up to these winners finals, but is yet to make an appearance. That pressure from that Gligar is no joke. And benching pretty much that Oranguru, opting instead for that Cresselia because it's able to withstand multiple Night Slashes no problem, as well as have that Grass Knot coverage that comes pretty quick and hits for neutral on both the Lunatone and the Gligar. Super effective on the Lunatone Rider.
Yeah, I mean, you did mention the Cresselia. I would still call that the probably most important Pokemon on both of these teams. The Gligar, as we've seen though, does have some capability now. We've talked a lot about all of the struggles that it has had, like that it faces, but we've also now just seen some of the strengths that it has, and so I'm interested to see if both trainers opt to keep the Gligar strategy. Of course, they definitely have to keep the Cresselia. I think that's non-negotiable.
I have a question for you here, Fish. Yes. What would you say about leading strong into Lunatone and safe swapping Fearow? Because that feels like a very interesting strat in this match. Fearow with a bit of energy is really hard to contain in this match.
Yeah, I absolutely like it. We are not going to see that yet, though. We're going to see the Gligar in exactly what it wants to see, which is that Lunatone matchup. We saw that it was able to tank a Weather Ball earlier, and that's exactly what it's going to do this time. But it does put it very, very low, so it might be a farm down situation. How quickly is that Gligar going to get to a second Night Slash? Because one's not going to do it.
Yeah, and kind of interesting adjustment by Emmy Weedle. He's bringing that Togekiss in the back, potentially predicting the Gligar. Here it comes! Meet your hardest foe! Your Aerial Aces won't do that much. Fury Cutter is double resisted, and you can't really throw Night Slashes, so Togekiss can farm up to its heart's content and potentially just start throwing Dazzling Gleams, farm all the way down. What a great call by Emmy Weedle.
Yeah, and I think the Togekisses on both sides have the same moveset as well, so we are seeing both of these trainers on the same wavelength. This is really fun to watch. We see the Dazzling Gleam is going to get shielded, and it's going to take a little bit of time to get to the next one. The Aerial Ace is going to come through first. Now, unfortunately, it is such a low damage attack. The Togekiss will be able to handle this just barely, but it does, and now the Dazzling Gleam is going to come through, and maybe this will get the KO. Never mind, it will get the shield.
Man, all I gotta say is this Gligar is putting on a show, being able to tank double super effective moves, double Aerial Ace, almost KOing a Togekiss. This is kind of an impressive showing by this Pokemon.
Yeah, Gligar is having its she's all that moment where it takes off his glasses and pulls out the hair tie and suddenly it's hot. The Night Slash will take out a little bit of a chunk, and we
get the boost!
Get a boost! A Night Slash boost, now not as big of a game changer as it used to be. It is now a single stage attack boost rather than a double stage, but it is still going to be enough to draw a shield out of MeWeedle's side.
Oh, catches the Moonblast on the Cresselia. He's able to get the Cycle Cut through as well, saving that Gligar for a rainy day. This Moonblast won't do as much damage. It did give up that boost though, but I guess now with that Fury Cutter and Night Slash damage, the 2 moves from Cresselia should be enough to get the knockout on the mirror counterpart.
And we see the first one coming through, Express from the Cresselia. That'll take out almost half of the remaining HP. We have, I think that was 99 energy now on Nickname's Cresselia, and it's going to throw a whole bunch of that energy itself. Again, Moonblast is not going to be enough, so it does have to get up to another attack. It does have the Grass Knot there. They get there at the same time, but Nickname throws where Weedle doesn't. And so the Cresselia is going to go back into its Pokeball on Weedle's side. Here comes Lunatone. It's going to throw a Weather Ball. That will get the shield. But a lot that this guy has to do now.
This Gligar will be able to get the farm down, but it's so low. It's closing on back-to-back Night Slashes. I don't believe this is even enough to KO, but can it withstand enough Cycle Cuts where it can throw a move into the opposing Gligar? I don't believe it. Oh man, Cresselia. Look at the bulk of this Pokemon, able to Cycle Cut all the way down. Nickname able to get another point on the board and is one win away from locking his place into the Grand Finals.
Yeah, it's so weird. Nickname drops the first battle, and you are not worried for him at all. Like you just know that he's like, okay, I see what you're doing now. Let me just adjust to that, and I'll take it from here.
You know what he does is he was leaning back on his chair, went down one game, and then he walked in. He was ready to go. Nickname trying to not drop any other game here. He actually dropped the first game out of this whole Invitational 2 World Championship versus CalebPeng earlier on. So he only lost 2 games so far, and he's looking pretty good here. One more win, locks his place into the Grand Finals, though he's facing Amy Weedle, who's no joke, and if anyone can find a solution for this Nickname puzzle, it's him.
Yeah, absolutely. The momentum is with Nickname, but Emmy Weedle does have the skills to dislodge that boulder. Let's see how they play it out. Both trainers do seem to be having similar ideas, both bringing the Gligar into their last couple of matchups. I think, no, they didn't both bring the Togekiss, but they've brought the Togekisses in separate battles, haven't they?
I'm not sure if Nickname has brought Togekiss in this matchup yet. He brought
not in battle one?
Previous.
No.
I think it was
right.
Fear,
Maybe yeah.
But
anyway,
no,
you're right.
Anyway, Togekiss actually not that strong into Gligar as I was assuming. Aerial is pretty much getting the 2-hit knockout with a few more double resisted Fury Cutters. So maybe Gligar is being slept on because tanking double super effective moves for days, being able to do super effective damage into a bulk monster like Cresselia, getting a potential boost to flip the tides of a matchup. Man, Gligar is pretty good.
Alright, we are into battle number 4. We see Cresselia into Lunatone, advantage Cresselia. So Nickname already has the upper hand heading into battle number 4.
Here comes the Gligar safe swap, met by the Fearow. The Night Slashes will hit for neutral damage, and it paces slightly faster than the Drill Peck. Here comes the first Aerial Ace, though. Trying to get a Protect Shield out of the Fearow. Here comes the Protect Shield. Fearow now can build up a bit of energy before throwing this first Drill Peck.
Yeah, that's a very interesting shield. Obviously wanting to keep as much HP on that Fearow as possible, thinks that it will come in handy later down the track, and we get one Drill Peck, we get to a second Drill Peck, but not before the Aerial Ace comes through from the Gligar.
I believe he's shielding the Aerial Aces just so you force Gligar to go for another Aerial Ace instead of the cheaper Night Slash.
Right.
Drill Peck's going to come through just before a Gligar reaches another Night Slash. Fearow is going to be able to keep switch advantage, but it did give up shield advantage. And this can prove costly when there's a Togekiss in the battle.
And so the Cresselia is just going to get straight back onto the field, giving the opportunity for the Togekiss to come out into a matchup that is going to handle this a lot better. So the Cresselia has to reach all the way for the Moonblast because those Grass Knots are resisted by the Togekiss.
Yeah, and Togekiss has to go all the way to a Dazzling Gleam to put some dent on this Cresselia, though. Though I wonder if this Dazzling Gleam hits, will it be in Aura Sphere range?
It might be. Oh, no, I don't think that was enough. So I think they do have to reach all the way. Maybe after some pecks, but it'll be a bit of a reach. Never mind. The Cresselia is going to get to that Moonblast first, and Meweedle is not going to tempt fate. They're just going to take that Moonblast and maybe get up some extra energy on whatever comes in next, which is the Lunatone.
Here comes the Lunatone trying to potentially hit the Weather Ball Ice on the Cresselia, but comes Lunatone with the catch. Weather Ball Ice gonna go through, gonna put a significant chunk into it, but now it's a matter of how do you leverage your energy to be able to hit that Cresselia in the back that's very close to another Grass Knot.
Yeah, Meweedle does have 2 shields to play with and is not going to use one here, so is going to save that energy for probably the Grass Knots. Well, for whatever the next charge move is, because whatever the next one is, will probably get it to either KO or within farmable range. Now, Nickname is going to use their last shield. There is only shields on Meweedle's side now, and is finally going to use one of them.
He did correctly shield that rock slide that would pick up the net KO and gonna get the first protect shield out of Meweedle. Meweedle now, potentially trying to catch. It does indeed catch a rock slide. Maybe even a Weather Ball Ice wouldn't have been enough to KO this bulky Cresselia. Gets rid of it, and now with the shield advantage, you have to take out both a Fearow and a Lunatone. That is still fairly healthy, so you potentially have to rock slide it. We'll see how Nickname leverages this endgame. Here comes the Lunatone. It's close to a Weather Ball Ice. Here it comes. Meweedle doesn't go for Charge Attack priority because we know he has lost that before, but now he has to overfarm perfectly to have a move both for the Lunatone and for the Fearow in the back.
And the race is on. The Meweedle Lunatone is going to fire off that Weather Ball that will KO the Lunatone. And how much energy was remaining on that Fearow? I don't think it's enough. I think it's going to get off the Weather Ball, and that will get the KO on the Fearow. Meweedle manages to do a lot of work with that Lunatone and pull the score back to even.
And kind of interesting, every time Nickname brought the Fearow, he actually lost the game. So wondering if Fearow isn't bringing that much potential into this matchup, since you have such bulky Pokemons that can easily tank one Drill Peck, but they're pulling shields away from the Fearow, and then you don't have enough shields to cover the likes of your Lunatone or your Gligar, for example.
Yeah, that's a really good observation. So then what would you do to adjust that? Would you maybe swap the Fearow out for the Togekiss?
I don't know.
Would you bring more Togekiss?
I feel like the ideal comp is actually to not try to counter the Gligar with your Flyers, because apparently they don't have enough stat product to hang on in this matchup, and potentially just bring your own Gligar, Lunatone, and Cresselia. Cresselia can tank enough of the energy where you put it low enough where Lunatone can set up on it, and then your own Gligar to cover opposing Cresselias potentially.
I'm very interested that we've seen no Oranguru yet this match. So if I were to guess, I would say that would be the effect of the Cresselia. I haven't done the Sims, but I would actually think, even though the Brutal Swings are super effective against it, the confusions being resisted and the speed of and the amount of damage that the Grass Knots and the Moonblasts do, I think Cresselia would have that advantage there.
Yeah, potentially. And then again, if you're locked into a Gligar, you're in a pretty rough spot, because Gligar, unlike Togekiss, for example, isn't really in dire need of shielding your moves, or isn't really worried about boosted confusions because it has such high stat product. And then you have super effective Fury Cutters. You can build up as much energy as you want, and those Night Slashes hit pretty much everything on Nickname's team, besides the Togekiss that we already see that Aerial is pretty much 2 shots. So maybe you don't want to set up that Gligar, and keeping the trusty Monkey on the bench is the correct call for this match.
Yeah, so then, that can be a blessing and a curse, because it can also make the decisions, less decisions to make when picking your team. We are into battle number 5. This is the last one, and Lunatone is facing Gligar. Both of these Pokemon, I think, are licking their lips, if they do have lips, and Lunatone will throw that energy first. The Weather Ball is going to get a shield out of the Gligar this time, so Nickname sees a lot of value in this Gligar.
Yeah, potentially playing a bit differently than Emmy Weedle, following the HP of this Gligar. Of course, there's also that Firo in the back that doesn't really want to see this Kunatone down energy, at least. Here comes another Edible Ice. Is going to potentially threaten a knockout with the extra sideways. Gets the second Protect Shield out of Nickname. No shields now for the remainder of this matchup. And here comes the Mirror Gligar.
Okay, so let's see how this one plays out. So Weedle does have both shields in play, and we've kind of seen this situation before where Weedle held their shields right up to the end game, Nickname burning them early. We'll see how this plays out this time.
Man, this Aerial Ace is doing so much damage into this Fire Mirrors. Here comes the first Drill Peck. I don't even think Gligar has to shield this. That's how insane this matchup is. The difference in stat product proving key in this matchup. Here comes another Aerial Ace just before the Drill Peck is reached. Gonna threaten a knockout. And the Fury Cutter user is gonna be able to take out the Flying type.
I mean, not even the Fury Cutter, it's just the Aerial Ace on its own. So, I mean, to think how far we came, Gligar gets its first shot on the field, and it comes up against the Firo, and we're like, oh, that's why we haven't seen Firo. And now Firo's like, you doubted me? This is what I can do. It's now going to throw another Aerial Ace into the Togekiss, and the Togekiss doesn't want to take it. It's going to shield it.
Interesting shield here by the Togekiss. Here comes the Cresselia. Cresselia forcing the Togekiss to go all the way to a Dazzling Gleam. But we've seen that double Moonblast is required to KO this Togekiss. Though with the chip damage that the Togekiss already has, I wonder if with the Cycle Cuts it will be in Grass Rot range later on.
And that might be why Weedle shielded that Aerial Ace, because I think that Aerial Ace might have put it in a single Moonblast range. So maybe that was the play there. The Dazzling Gleam is going to land on the Cresselia, and we do have enough energy for another Dazzling Gleam and a catch!
That's
Wow!
a massive catch! Emmy Weedle fighting for his life! Just about the Switch Lock comes up, gets the catch, undercharged totally. It's going to be able to come in with his own Gligar, trying to at least make the most out of this dire situation. Here comes the Aerial Ace.
And Nickname is still in a very good position because this Aerial Ace won't KO it, and it will be in the opposing Gligar will be in Fury Cutter range. The Fury Cutter slowly chip away at it. Nickname does have so much energy remaining on his Gligar. Two Aerial Aces will KO the Togekiss, but of course that's the disadvantage of using your shield so early, is he's not going to get any of that energy off. That Togekiss has a Dazzling Gleam ready and is going to KO that Gligar.
And the question is, can the Dazzling Gleam be reached just before it is? I think it's enough to KO this question. I mean, it's in a red. It has to be, right?
Yeah,
and
has
Emmy
to.
Weedle on the back of that catch, I believe he's going to be able to lock in his place in the grand finals of the Devon World Championship.
That was epic. That put that one in the Hall of Fame, in the record books. They will be speaking about that for generations to come. Grandfathers are going to tell their grandkids. They're going to sit them on their knee and say, listen, let me tell you the story of the Weedle catch. Heard around the world.
Man, I think Emmy Weedle should write a letter to the developers of this game whenever they decided to have the 45-second switch time, because it came in so clutch. They were both over farming, because maybe I think Nickname was also kind of aware that the switch clock was up, but it's a matter of seconds, right? So you're not sure if it's already up, if it's not. And fortunately for Emmy Weedle, as soon as it went up, press that button. Oh, here comes the catch. That was massive. What a win for Emmy Weedle. 3-2. It doesn't get as close as this. And man, Emmy Weedle now in the prime position to win it all, because if it's hard already to take him out in the best of 5, imagine in 2 of them.
Absolutely. I mean, if anyone can do it, I would put my chips on Nickname. Like, Nickname is absolutely down but not out. Nickname can certainly fight his way back through the loser side of the bracket. He will have to take on another trainer to do that, and it is looking like it's going to be the winner of SS Thorn versus Gideon, who are currently facing off in the losers semifinals.
Yeah, and oh, is it so? We already know what the loser semifinals is looking like. So
yeah, so that's what I've seen here on the bracket matchup here. So SS Thorn versus Gideon, HAFC in the losers semifinals. The loser will be out for good. The winner will take on Nickname for some redemption.
This is kind of crazy, because three of the players that came in mainly through the Gym Breaker circuit are on the top 4. And in SS Torn lies the hopes of every grinder of the grassroots circuit to at least force these guys to have to play the entire thing, right? Because if they come in with a Gym Break, I mean, let's not kid ourselves. Getting that Gym Breaker slot is equally as hard, if not harder, because you're facing so many great opponents. But man, that Gym Breaker's pedigree coming in clutch. But SS Thorn already won a major competition this season, the Latin America International Showdown champion, and it's in his shoulders, in his hands to be able to carry the Devon Corporation hopes of the grinders of the circuit to be able to get the win.
That is a lot of pressure and has to take on the entire Galactic Empire to do so. So the work is certainly cut out for SS Thorn. There was a moment in that last match that I did want to come back to that you might have some insight on. I noticed that it was the Cresselia, just before the catch, there was the Cresselia versus the Togekiss, where they were both reaching for that final fairy-type charge attack. But they both overfarmed a little bit before that catch was made. Did you notice that, and did you have any insight as to why that happened?
Yeah, I feel like both trainers have grind so many games, they practice so much that they pretty much have this internal clock going in their head of when the switch clock is open. And of course, like every single internal clock, it sometimes misses or fails for a few frames of second, right? And potentially Nickname was thinking, oh, the clock is already up, so I have to throw it in a timing that's not obvious, while Emmy Whittle was like, man, let the switch clock open. Let the switch clock open. Let me get that catch. Worked out for Emmy Whittle, of course, but man, I don't know about you, Fish, but after these battles, I might need to take a bit of a breather.
We need our own drinks break. Hydration break.
Yeah, we need our own hydration break. That's right, but don't go anywhere because we're gonna have some more matchups coming through with a new pair of castings. Thank you so much to Devon for having me and Fish on, and we're gonna let other casters take over after the break. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Welcome back, everyone, to Devon Corporation World Championships for Season 3. I'm CalebPeng. I'm joined with AlphaFeeb, and we're going to continue with the tournament. How are you doing today, AlphaFeeb?
I know it's an early morning on the East Coast. It's an earlier morning on the West Coast for you. I've had my coffee. I've been watching the battles as they've been happening. We've had some fun night/boosts, lots of Gligar here and there, and I'm excited to keep things going.
Yeah, there may be a small chance that I woke up like 5 minutes ago, but, there's a possibility I also tuned into everything. But just in case I did not, I will lean on some of your expertise here, AlphaFeeb. We also have, of course, a loser side of the bracket that we didn't get a chance to look at all the battles. So we'll do a quick recap of that when possible. When we have that bracket. Actually, I could probably just talk about it briefly because I don't know if we have a graphic for that yet. But in losers round 1, so CGY Flames fan did 2-0 Arrow Bubble, 66. K-Pine 2-1 against Dishin. And then on round number 2, we had SS Storm 2-0 over CGY Flames fan. And then Gideon actually 2-1 to K-Pine. So unfortunately, the winners from round 1 of loser bracket are also out. But that means we have a matchup of Gideon versus SS Thorn in this upcoming matchup. It is a best of 3, and then, of course, the winner has a best of 5 in the loser finals against Nickname. So it should be a pretty exciting one.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see as the teams have kind of pared down from the beginning 8. We've had a lot of Cresselia dominance on the winner's side of the bracket. We just had a mirror match between Cresselias. But on this loser's side of the matchup now, we've got SS Thorn, who is, I believe, the only Turtonator. I don't know. I don't think we've seen it show up today in any matches so far. So we'll be seeing if he's willing to bring it in this next matchup. And then Gideon is not going to be running either the Cresselia or Turtonator. He is instead opting for Kingdra, which there's a couple. Arrow Bubble was knocked out by 89 Calgary Flames, right? So that Pokemon will be making a reappearance. I know it's very flexible with the fast energy generation that Dragon Breath has nowadays.
Yeah, definitely. I'm curious to see if we'll be able to see the moveset on the Turtonator too, because Incinerate or Ember can make a difference in terms of how to play around those matchups too. But having that just even on the bench too can provide a lot of pressure. So we'll see how that goes. It is an interesting pick too, and probably for good reason why it's not as common, given that, you know, a lot of teams do have that Lunatone with that super effective rock slide damage.
And another Pokemon that our co-casters earlier were talking about was Vespiquen. It's extremely bulky. It doesn't have the best typing, but unfortunately, because K-Pime and Air Bubble are now both out of the circuit, that's going to be the farthest that Vespiquen's going to go. It's very fast pacing with Fury Cutter. And I think that's also why a Pokemon that we've been seeing a lot in the winner's side of the bracket, that Gligar, there's, I think, one Shadow variant of it as well. Let me try to figure out who was it who had that. Oh, no, actually, yeah. I'm not seeing a Shadow variant. I could have sworn I saw one on one of the graphics earlier, but must be making things up. But with the fast pacing of Fury Cutter into Night Slash and Aerial Ace as its most commonly ran coverage move here, you like having the very quick pacing. I know Joqqs was bringing up Return as a potential alternative, but I think players are going to opt for having quick pacing over harder hitting moves.
Definitely. Speaking of Gligar, SS Thorn does have one on his team, and that is going to be the upcoming matchup between him and Gideon. That being said, though, Gideon is running triple flyers, so we might see a little bit less Gligar in this upcoming matchup, but we'll see. I mean, you know, SS Thorn potentially could bring it, but probably unlikely given that there's Togekiss, Fearow, and a Drifblim. So we'll see, though. Gideon is also running double Psychic, so there is some utility, but triple flyers is one way to scare off the Gligar.
As we've mentioned, this is the loser semis, right? SS Thorn and Gideon are in the loser semis. The winner will be facing off Nickname in the losers final. So we have locked up our top 4 slots, and I don't think it's been announced yet. I believe we are the ones who get to do this, but there is prize money for these top 4 slots. First place will be taking home a grand prize of $500. Second place will be taking home $250. Third place, $150. And whoever unfortunately loses this match will be in 4th place, and they'll get a nice $50, which maybe get them a nice lunch or two.
That's right. I mean, you know, they're all in the running for the prize money, which is pretty nice. And of course, this is a grassroots tournament too. So really, really big shout out to Devon Corporation for providing this for our players, as well as obviously a grassroots limited format tournament, which we don't have as much of in the official circuit. But here we go. We have our official matchups on our graphics here. So super excited to see how this one plays out. Speaking of Turtonator, I'm trying to see if it has really any play into this composition. It doesn't really look like it. I mean, even the Fearow has a play into it. So unless SS Thorn's feeling really bold about it, I think that one may be on the bench. And then again, this is a triple. Oh wait, hold on. Are these the right teams?
Yeah, I was just about to message.
Sorry. It's CGY Flames team. So I'll see. SS Thorn, I believe, is the correct team, but Looking again at Gideon's team too, yeah, Turtonator still doesn't have a lot of play. It has, some play, I guess, into the Oranguru, but outside of that, there's a lot of coverage on all ends there. So, yeah, probably not a lot of Turtonator action. Because of that, also, the Triple Flyer's not a lot of Gligar potential too. So this really limits SS Thorn's composition to the remaining 4 Pokemon. So we'll probably see some combination of the remaining 4 of Oranguru, Drifblim, Lunatone, and Gyarados, which, could make it more predictable, but at the same time, too, it is a limited format, so a lot of these Pokemon do have play.
I do want to get a quick check on the Pokemon's Shadow variants, because I've had slightly different information in 2 locations. This one does say Shadow Gligar, so I was right about that, but I'm not sure if he's also running a standard Gyarados or a Shadow Gyarados. Shadow Gyarados, I think, is going to be a little bit more potent. Aquatail has same type attack bonus with Gyarados, but also it's a Shadow variant, means it's going to be doing just that much more damage to a Pokemon that isn't threatened by the fast attack damage of Gyarados like Togekiss, but also will do significantly more damage when it's super effective against something like Lunatone. And I'd say, out of all of the Pokemon on these 2 teams, Lunatone and Oranguru generally are leaned on by players a lot as really safe picks, because there aren't that many hard answers. Of course, you have a Ghost type in Drifblim, but you also have normal typing of Oranguru, which neutralizes that threat a lot. And as your charge attacks on Lunatone, you have Ice Weather Ball as well as Rock Slide, so you can threaten some really hard-hitting charge attacks there.
Yeah, definitely. And, speaking of Shadow types there too, as we see the assets updates, it is also Shadow Drifblim. And if that Shadow Drifblim is running Astonish, then that's going to be some decent fast attack pressure for a lot of the side of Gideon. Of course, you got Oranguru and Fearow that resist that damage, particularly Fearow that double resists it. So it is a little bit slower charging for the charge attacks compared to Hex, but that fast attack pressure can be no joke, even in that mirror matchup too. So we will see if SS Thorn is going to breathe out or not. Yeah, this matchup does look very, very polarizing in general between Gideon and SS Thorn. I think if we're looking at it holistically, I think Lunatone's probably as neutral as it gets, or maybe I would say Oranguru. Oranguru's charge attacks are walled off by Togekiss, but something. Well, here we go. We got Shadow Gyarados into the Kingdra. A little Dragon Breath on Dragon Breath action as Kingdra is going to reach for this first Swift.
And this is a really interesting matchup because Shadow Gyarados doesn't get the same type attack bonus on Dragon Breath, but it's going to be doing more damage to that Kingdra because Kingdra takes super effective damage from Dragon Breath. So I think I give a slight edge in this matchup to Gyarados. However, it is forced to reach for those higher energy cost punch because Aquatail are double resisted by the Dragon and Water subtyping.
All right, SS Thorn goes for the potential catch, and Gideon does throw a little chip and dip. It's the same exact backline for these two, so even though, it's probably going to be a very, very similar mirror match. I believe Gyarados did leave with some residual energy, though, so that could come in handy later. And with SS Thorn being one confusion ahead, does allow him to get to his first Brutal Swing.
Brutal Swing does not threaten a knockout. It looks like we will be able to survive a second as well. Confusions are resisted by the Psychic typing, so they don't add up very fast. I've seen some players opt for going Trailblaze before going for Brutal Swing. However, you're not doing super effective damage. You're not getting the same type of attack bonus on either of them. So I feel like players will very frequently just go straight Brutal Swing to get that quicker pacing.
Yeah, Gideon maybe not confident that he would survive that confusion, so just goes for that Brutal Swing right away. And in comes the Simul Swap, essentially. Kingdra just blind swapped in here. It's going to be a resisted Swift. Let's see if SS Thorn's going to call this or not. I believe Gideon was a decent chunk away from the Surf. Oh, he does shield the Swift, though. That is something for Gideon. However, SS Thorn is quite ahead on energy, not only on his own Lunatone, but there's still the Gyarados with a bit of energy left. I don't know if it's going to be very easy or not to take out this Lunatone on the side of SS Thorn, but here comes Gideon with the mirror match, and they both have neutral moves, but going for the same type of attack bonus Rock Slide, and Gideon does not call it. this is going to be a good chunk of energy landing in this mirror match.
And I think this No Shield makes a lot of sense for Gideon because there's still the threat of Aqua Tail from the Gyarados, and who knows how much energy is there? Probably SS Thorn and Gideon know, but I am not certain at this point. But we see a quick swap. The shield was pulled by that Weather Ball, Aqua Tail coming through, and this is for sure going to pick up a knockout from a hard hitter like Shadow Gyarados into a not so bulky Pokemon like Lunatone.
Oh, a huge combo play from SS Thorn there, just getting rid of all the energy on Gideon's Lunatone, and you essentially, that was a huge play from SS Thorn because he essentially not only got the final shield from Gideon, got both moves off, and then wasted all the energy on the Lunatone. So despite, you know, maybe not winning that lead matchup, having to swap there early, the backline really paid off for SS Thorn. And now he is on match point going into that losers finals. What looked like a kind of a tough matchup potential for SS Thorn. Like we said earlier too, there's a lot of flexibility, right? And so they're both running just double Psychic in the back with their Dragon Breath user, and you know, SS Thorn just being a slight bit ahead of Gideon, catching the Swift, well, not really catching, but taking the Swift damage on the Oranguru helped out a lot, and then even shielding the resisted Swift on his own Lunatone still end up working out for him.
Yeah, I think SS Thorn set up that endgame really well for himself. He got himself a massive farm down, and although Gideon got like a big advantage in that shield by getting that Swift bait, he also provided about a quarter of that Kingdra's health as farm potential for Lunatone. Lunatone just ate that up with the Psywave damage, and you're not threatened by one charge attack in a Lunatone mirror, so it was a really great matchup in the end for SS Thorn. You could take a Rock Slide potentially if you need to, but because of that energy advantage, he was actually able to get off 2 charge attacks. No shielded Rock Slide put the Lunatone in Weather Ball range. Weather Ball needs to be shielded. Aqua Tail was basically ready, and even if Gideon was able to snipe that Gyarados with a Ice Weather Ball, there was still going to be a significant health advantage for SS Thorn on that Lunatone. So I think really masterfully created endgame energy management there from SS Thorn.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't think I realized it as much when we were first looking at their teams, but that Shadow Gyarados is stupid safe for SS Thorn. You know, there's really only just the Togekiss that can handle it, and even then, like, you're still going to do a good amount of damage. Let's see if Gideon brings that in to this potential final matchup, as he is definitely going to have to pull off a reverse sweep here. But no, it's going to be the same composition from both players, but this time around, it's going to be the Ranker in the lead. And yes, you have the super effective Crunch, but these confusions might as well be super effective into a Shadow Gyarados, as you see it doing so much chunk damage. Oh, and it makes a huge call. No shields, the potential super effective Crunch. That could have almost one-shot KO'd from that range, but Gideon making the gutsy call there, and now might have advantage here in shields. And yes, we're going to see the first shield pulled from SS Thorn.
Yeah, I was definitely going to call. I think the Oranguru can hold on to a Crunch, and then based on the amount of damage that the Dragon Breaths were doing in the Aqua Tail did, I don't think it can hold on to a Crunch. Aqua Tail coming through, picks up the knockout. Low HP Gyarados is going to potentially put Gideon into a great position to get a fast attack farm down.
Ooh, and a great call from SS Thorn to just bank the Aqua Tail for later. We saw how useful that was in the last game. And now Gideon going straight for the harder hitting serve, same type of attack bonus, knowing that it's unlikely that SS Thorn's going to drop the second shield right away. And this allows him to land it. And here comes a Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing probably won't KO, but will do a good chunk of damage. Might put it... Oh, actually, wow. No, it does still allow Gideon to do this. I mean, this is a non-Shadow Kingdra, I guess, so it could tank it a little bit better. I actually don't think this Swift is enough, but a few Dragon Breaths may do it before the confusion damage procs. Let's see if that happens or not. Might go for the damage transfer. No, gets a full Dragon Breath down. That's pretty big. And now we have our 2 mirror matches. Oh, gets the Psywave down before getting the Swift off. That's huge. Even though it's resistant Swift, it is still a slight advantage, and now this makes it so that Gideon can't even go for a catch in the endgame.
Yeah, and Gideon's going to have to be very wary in this endgame. If the Gyarados is able to survive the Psywave, it will be able to launch a super effective Aqua Tail, and that Aqua Tail is going to do a ton of damage to Lunatone, so it's got to make sure that he always has 1 shield left.
Yeah, speaking of 1 shield left, Gideon has actually 2 shield left. Calls another bait yet again. But at this point, too, you pretty much just have to shield everything. However, another Weather Ball is just around the corner. I don't know if Gideon just has enough at this point to take out this opposing one. Yeah, just that energy lead for the Lunatone was so big for SS Thorn yet again in this game. And now we're about to see the same comp play, Phoebe. Here comes the Gyarados, and here comes the Aqua Tail. And unfortunately, 2 back-to-back games, Gideon just can't get a move off from this Lunatone, and SS Thorn with the 2-0 sweep in the semifinals.
Yeah, and you could actually see the damage register from that final Psywave, so just the perfect amount of health remaining on that Gyarados in the endgame. I feel like after that Psywave, it had to be 1 HP. There's literally no other option for it to be besides 1 HP.
Yeah, definitely. I forgot to ask this earlier, but are they playing in Competitors Cup, or are they playing on the new PP system?
I believe this is in Competitors
That could
Cup,
make
yeah.
a difference. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, then that's crazy close margins there. But SS Thorn with a dominant 2-0 victory in 2 games where the players ran the same 3 Pokemon back-to-back. SS Thorn running in the same exact order. Gideon mixed up a little bit, and it was a close one, but SS Thorn just with the slight edge there. And yes, we do have confirmation from our production that it is Competitors Cup, just like you said, Phoebe. So SS Thorn will be our challenger against Nickname, and we'll have at least a top 3 spot. Great run from Gideon to make it into the top 4, but unfortunately will be eliminated after this one.
And this is actually going to be a repeat matchup that we saw from our winners round 2. We saw Nickname take down SS Thorn 2-1. So a bit of a grudge match for SS Thorn here. He's going to have the opportunity to have a total of 5 battles, so maybe can have slightly different luck than he did in that first set. I do want to go back. I actually thought that Gideon was in a really strong position at the beginning of this match, but because the amount of damage he was able to put onto that Gyarados with the Oranguru, he was able to call the bait from the Gyarados. It was Aqua Tail and not Crunch, and I felt like that put him into a really strong position, and SS Thorn just able to outmaneuver in that end game. The ability to, with a very frail Pokemon like Shadow Gyarados, farm up to perfectly be at the Aqua Tail and still believe that it can make that charge attack land on a 1-turn fast attack user such as Lunatone, I think takes a lot of guts, and it speaks to SS Thorn's skill in this game.
Definitely. I mean, I can't agree with you more. I think particularly that second game too, I don't think Gideon made a mistake. Like he didn't shield the Aqua Tail bait. He didn't shield the Weather Ball bait either. Got the Dragon Breath down on the Oranguru. It just unfortunately did not have enough health to get that Swift off. I don't know if his timer was up. I guess potentially could have just pivoted straight to the Lunatone head-to-head if he knew that he couldn't get Swift off. I thought personally that he probably could have. But that may be the only thing. But yeah, a super slim margin there, and SS Thorn just able to, just take it out in the end game. So pretty wild stuff. But yeah, great run from Gideon throughout the season and the tournament. But SS Thorn is no stranger to grassroots formats as well. I believe he was in Devon Corporation Worlds last year as well. But this should be, I think, his highest finish in Worlds for Devon Corporation to date. I could be slightly wrong on that one, but to my knowledge, I think that might be correct.
Well, we're going to give our player, SS Thorn, a little bit of a chance to get a breather after that match. But in the meantime, why don't we take a look at some of our graphics for usage? We can take a look at Early Bird Invitationals as well as the Night Owl Invitationals. Let's start with the Early Bird ones, though, to see how the meta's kind of changed across the play of this cup. So Oranguru, of course, being the top usage Pokemon, tied with Lunatone at 77%. I think based on that match we just saw is not a really big surprise. The coverage that Lunatone has with both Ice and Rock, and Oranguru, as everyone knows from LAIC meta, back almost a year ago at this point, is a dominant Pokemon when it comes to restricted metas that include Psychic and Normal typing.
Definitely, and of course Togekiss too, having a lot of play in a Rangoon meta just because you resist all the charge attacks. Of course, the Confusion is still neutral, but a very solid, kind of soft answer to that Psychic normal type. That being said, there is, a decent amount of Kingdra here, there's some Gudra, but there's one Dragon Breath user that we just saw that isn't on this top usage graphic, and that is the Shadow Gyarados, or even just a non-Shadow Gyarados too. So SS Storm maybe finding kind of a key core breaker in this meta that really I don't think a single other person is running in at least this World Championship. Yeah, I don't see it. Yeah, I don't see it. It's just his own Gyarados. So a pretty good meta read, I would say, as you have super effective moves for 3 out of the top 4 usage, right? And Aqua Tail from Gyarados still chunks quite a bit even to Togekiss with even though you're throwing resisted Dragon Breath damage.
And it doesn't say it on this graphic, but I'm super curious. I don't think I've ever seen Salamence on a usage graphic for Great League before.
You're right. I just noticed that too.
I was gonna quiz you, but then I did the look up myself about what fast move it uses. I was thinking, I'm pretty sure it doesn't get Dragon Breath. I was correct about that. Dragon Tail, Bite, and Firefang are its 3 moves of choice. But looking into this meta, I'm really curious if it's Dragon Tail or if it's using Bite as a pseudo dark type, right? To try to pressure away some of the psychic types. It is the Shadow variant on 71% of the teams that it was brought on. So some fast attack damage pressure does make a little bit of sense, but maybe production, obviously it's not going to be part of this graphic, but maybe someone on production knows if it was Bite that was the fast attack of choice, or if it was Dragon Tail.
Yeah, I could see both having a lot of play. So obviously by a lot of dark fast attack damage, but it does make you a lot weaker into the head-to-head matchups against opposing dragons. You do have Fly in all likelihood as one of your charge attacks, but also more importantly, you probably have Brutal Swing. I mean, I'm just looking at this now because it's not like I play Salamence every day. I assume you don't either, most of you listening, but you got access to Brutal Swing, Crunch, likely probably just Brutal Swing because it's a cheaper move, Draco Meteor, Fire Blast, Fly, Hydro Pump, Outrage is obviously the Community Day move, and then of course Return to the Purified one. So Dragon Tail, ever since this rework, does generate energy much faster. So you could be running Dragon Tail with the Brutal Swing, or if you really want to kind of cheese your opponents, you could run that super effective Bite damage. I would assume the Shadow variants of Salamence is probably running Bites because we know how that feels, or not particularly that particular matchup, but we know how Shadow Bite feels against certain psychics. So that could be potentially the strategy there, depending on the Shadow versus non-Shadow.
Yeah, I think it was like Shadow Bite Drapion, Shadow Bite Skuntank, in some limited GBL metas are just like extremely oppressive. I know we've seen like reworks of Dragon Breath and other quick one-turn fast attacks, and Bite being super oppressive is not anything I ever really want. So let's not buff Bite. I'm pretty happy with where it is right now.
Yeah, there's always the classic Bite Shadow Sharpedo as well. So that's I might be a little guilty of using it here or there in some GBL limited metas, but sometimes you have to go to the dark side when it calls for it. But yeah, unfortunately, no one is running that Pokemon in this top 8, which probably makes sense. It's a little bit less flexible, and we already saw the power of Dragon Breath Kingdra, but of course the Gyarados as well too. They're just going to have a much bigger leg up in that head-to-head matchup. So I think it makes sense that a lot of our successful players did not go for the Salamence strategy.
Yeah, and I think we'll have a bit more time to kill. So if we could take a look at the Night Owl Invitational meta as well, so we could see how those trainers decided to take a look. Oh, wait, I take it back.
Oh,
it looks
we have
like
our teams.
Looks like we might be getting close to being ready. We have our teams up on the screen. As I mentioned before, this is a rematch between SS Thorn and Nickname. Nickname was able to win that losers round 2-1.
All right, and looking at their team, so this one's going to be a little bit It's still like a little hard for, I think, for Storm to bring that Gligar, right? I mean, you have the Togekiss and the Fearow on the side of Nickname, but it has a lot more play, right? You're running into triple Psychic, so that's nice. And then you, of course, have a mirror matchup. Nickname running pretty wild, actually. Triple Psychic and triple Flyer. I like it. I like it. A lot of ABB, ABA, BBA compositions that you can make with this one. You could run triple A as well to triple Flyers, triple Psychics. Don't think we'll see triple Psychics, but I don't know. Triple Flyer maybe could work, especially because you have the Fearow for the Drifblim. I think more importantly, do we have answers to the Gyarados? Because yes, there is the Togekiss, but Togekiss is a little bit hard to play, I think, you know, with Lunatone being so prevalent. Obviously, you do have neutral damage you could throw at it, but just the pacing is just hard to keep up with compared to Lunatone. And given what we saw in the last series, Shadow Gyarados may come to play despite the fact that there is a Togekiss. I unfortunately was not awake for this first match, but if you saw this earlier, Feeb, maybe you could give us a little recap on how it kind of played out.
I unfortunately, I think I was in the middle of drinking my coffee, so even though I did see it, I do not recall it all that well. But I do think like Nickname is probably going to have to do something similar as we saw in that last matchup, is lean on that Oranguru a little bit to try to deal with that Gyarados. The Gyarados is very safe. I think Drifblim will be a pretty tough bring for SS Storm because in addition to triple Flyer and triple Psychic, it's also a double normal team. So he's got both Fearow and that Oranguru, which are not going to be taking all that much damage. And given that it is the Shadow variant, I expect it to be on Astonish. But here we go into game number 1, Lunatone into Oranguru. And in the back, we do have that ABB double Flyer, as you called out.
All right, and the backline is definitely going to be pretty potent even into the Gyarados. Gyarados will have play, but it's not going to be as free as the last game for SS Storm for that Gyarados. First Rock Slide, not going to be shield, just going through against Oranguru. Oranguru pretty bulky though, so not worried about it at all for Nickname. And Nickname is at the Trailblaze and Brutal Swing energy, but just goes for the Brutal Swing, knows that it's super effective, and there's a chance that, you know, he may even pivot out. Allows him to get to a second one. Oh, and SS Storm goes for the catch. Catcher's a super effective Brutal Swing, so still not too bad for Nickname, but does save the Lunatone for later, and now we see the swap in with the Togekiss. It's going to be fantastic for Togekiss, because not only do you ship it down, but you're also going to resist all this energy from the Oranguru.
Yeah, and Trailblaze is going to be the charge attack that you would like to use here. Both are resisted, but Trailblaze gives you that attack boost, and Psychic fast attack damage in that confusion are going to be neutral into the Fairy and Flying type. Or Sphere coming through would pick up the knockout, so shield is raised by SS Thorn.
All right, has the next Aura Sphere loaded, go for the optimal timing. This was SS Thorn in a slightly tough position, but SS Thorn just going to go for the Confusion Shield, so maybe banks the move for later, may try to throw it. Let's see how SS Thorn's going to play it out. Oh, almost goes for the entire Confusion down. No, actually gets the Dragon Breath down instead. There's still 2 shields on the side of Nickname, and 2 shield Fearow can definitely clean up. However, you're going to have to shield the first Aqua Tail before you are able to reach the Drill Peck. Nickname probably going to overfarm quite a bit, knowing that SS Thorn is locked in here. Dragon Breath, it will do some damage, but not enough to just put this in a fast attack down range for the rest of the side of SS Thorn. And now, first Drill Peck coming out. Should be enough to KO the Gyarados from this range. Does get the entire knockout. But there's energy on SS Thorn's, both of SS Thorn's backline Pokemon. So this game is not over yet. In comes the Lunatone, and here comes the Oranguru.
We've seen an immediate pivot out here, and unfortunately, because of the lack of energy on Nickname's Oranguru, he's going to allow Lunatone to build up a ton of energy and good timing from SS Thorn to throw right before the Brutal Swing is ready.
Oh, and goes for the Drill Peck, but SS Storm, fantastic timing, throws right before its reach. However, Nickname can't really overfarm by much, because the second one, the ball is there, and he gets it off. Really unfortunate for Nickname, but Nickname knew that there was the Brutal Swing and all that energy loaded up on the Oranguru, so had to come away with some extra energy, just not enough. And SS Storm able to pick up the first game in this best of 5, and now only 2 games away from making it into that grand finals. But Nickname still has a lot of wiggle room there, and really great place from SS Storm. I mean, it looked like a really dire situation being down 2 shields, but just having all that extra energy in the back really came in handy in the end game. Even though the Fearow looked like it was primed for a sweep, there's just a little bit too much energy on the Lunatone. And this Lunatone Gyarados core from SS Thorn looks completely broken when he's playing it well. I mean, he actually brought the same 3 Pokemon again. He brought the Rangaroo, Lunatone, and Gyarados, just like in the loser semifinals, and seems to work into Nickname's team too.
Yeah, it's a really tough core to beat. I think there's really, like, maybe that's why people were running Dragon Tail Salamence. No, I'm just kidding. That would actually really struggle against that Gyarados. But like, I really don't see a very clean answer. Cresselia is going to be neutral into the Lunatone, and actually potentially positive because you have access to super effective Grass Knot. It might be a little bit better into the Gyarados than we've been seeing some of the other picks from Nickname because it outbulks the Gyarados. It could survive the Dragon Breath plus Crunch. Maybe Nickname's going to try to bring a Cresselia and a Rangaroo team to this next match in order to try to outbulk the Pokemon that SS Thorn are bringing.
Yeah, I think they might have to take a gamble here and bring the Gligar at some point. Or the Double Psychic is just like completely unchecked outside of that. And yes, you have, kind of a bad matchup in the Gyarados, but Shadow Gyarados is pretty frail, right? So you even like a Night Slash from a Gligar can still do some damage even though you're throwing Resisted Fury Cutter. But here we go. Game number 2. SS Thorn already up a game. Looking for more. Up another game will put him on match point, which will make it pretty uncomfortable for Nickname. And Nickname going to rely on the Fearow yet again. This time matchup against the Gyarados.
And this is going to be a little bit more comfortable because the Gyarados is not threatening any super effective damage, and you're going to be able to strip away a shield with the first Drill Peck. You're going to get outpaced. 2 more Aqua Tails will come through before you reach 2 Drill Pecks. We'll have to see if Nickname's willing to call a no shield here on an Aqua Tail bait.
Yeah, it's going to do still a lot of damage. Can he get to the next move? Actually just goes straight for the Lunatone for potentially a side wave down. I think you have to commit a Weather Ball if that. Going to throw up the first shield because this is super effective. Aqua Tail going to do a lot more than the Fearow, even though that did already a lot of damage to the Fearow. Goes for the Weather Ball at the very last second. Does SS Thorn throw up the second shield already to get this Aqua Tail off? Yeah, he does. Wow, okay. Just goes for full sense. It has the Gligar in the back. I mean, Gligar's not going to want to come into a Lunatone with this much energy. Now, no shields. I assume SS Thorn's going to swap straight away to his own Lunatone, but this is actually a much different position now because Nickname's the one with the energy lead for once. And this time round, too, no shields on both sides means this Rock Slide is going to do a lot of neutral damage.
Yeah, I think the good thing for SS Thorn here is that Rock Slide does barely over half, and he's able to pivot out almost immediately. And now both of the charge attacks from the Lunatone aren't really threatening a knockout here. We see a Rock Slide being thrown. I believe there's energy for a Weather Ball as well. So the back-to-back throw will not pick up the knockout, but instead actually opting to not throw. Brutal Swing coming through here, going to remove all the energy off of this Lunatone.
Yeah, kind of a little curious because I would assume he knew that there was the Brutal Swing available, but might be trying to go for an aggressive farm down. And that could actually pay off too, especially with 2 Pokemon still in the back for Nickname. This also allows it so that Nickname could not swap out, right? Because if he lets the Lunatone get KO'd there, this means that there is no time for this Rangaroo to pivot out, and he goes for the perfect Fury Cutter down back-to-back Night Slash loaded. I think he's just going to full send it. Yeah, full send's the first one. I haven't seen this matchup myself personally. This might not KO, but should do a good chunk of damage. Or super effective, yes. And then here comes the Fearow. Oh, and tries to go for a catch and does get the catch off. Absolutely massive for Nickname. SS Thorn going for the complete undercharge. I don't know if it's enough though. Yes, still able to get a little bit of energy before the move is reached. Still has Gyarados for the catch potential and does outpace through the Night Slash. And SS Thorn now going up 2-0 in this best of 5. Now a match point in this rematch against Nickname.
That was a nasty read from SS Thorn. No shielding, allowing his Pokemon to go down so that Gligar, a very bulky Pokemon, was able to get an immense Fury Cutter down. The Rangaroo was like at 40% health, and Fury Cutter is, I guess it's been buffed in recent times, so it's like doing a little bit more damage than it used to. But like it's not a move that you often see like utilized to farm other Pokemon all the way down. Like maybe that's a Confusion, maybe that's like Incinerate, you know, like those really hard-hitting moves. But no, here gets the full Fury Cutter down, and even though Nickname's able to catch one of those Night Slashes onto his Fearow, it doesn't matter because the Undercharge allows him to get another fast attack down and come out with basically another Night Slash, and able to get 2 of them into the Lunatone to pick up the knockout. And just really, really well played by SS Thorn here.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the majority of people in the world probably would just thrown the Weather Ball at the Oranguru, but a crazy heads-up play from SS Thorn to not only calculate that the Switch Timer wouldn't be up for Nickname to swap out to bring in the Lunatone to just get to that double super Weather Ball in time. Because you can see, too, one Night Slash was not enough, right? So he needed a double or you know, some extra energy there, too, even after it was caught on the Fearow. But also just to recognize that that was enough health on the Oranguru to get that farm down without taking double Brutal Swing from that Oranguru. Crazy plays from SS Thorn. And like we said earlier, we don't know exactly how the first best of 3 played out in the winners finals, but SS Thorn has been on a rampage in this losers bracket. I mean, as we're getting ready for the next match, let me just take a look real quick to see if he's even lost a battle. So he lost. No, he didn't lose a battle in the losers bracket. 2-0 against CGY Flames Fan, 2-0 against Gideon, now 2-0 up against Nickname. Nickname is going to have to pull off a massive verse sweep in this best of 5 to have a chance here. As here we go, game number 3, match point for SS Thorn. Let's see if Nickname can change that narrative or not.
And we're seeing the same Pokemon from Nickname in this match, and actually it's the same for SS Thorn, right? It's the double Psychic plus their flyer of choice. It's all going to come down to how these players utilize their Pokemon's energy, their health, and potential catch opportunities in order to gain an advantage against their opponent.
All right, and first super effective Brutal Swing gonna come through, and Nickname gonna have some time to plan this out here. Does throw the Weather Ball on Charge Attack priority. Shouldn't be enough to KO the Oranguru, but this does allow Nickname to potentially farm it down. However, knowing SS Thorn, he's probably going to save this for a catch for later. And Nickname has a decision to make. Can go for the sideway down, but the Switch Timer is up, so probably not worth it. And yeah, just want to let the Brutal Swing go. And now has a turn lead if SS Thorn decides to stay in. And SS Thorn just going to stay in, allowing him to get the matchup he wants, which is going to be the Lunatone into the Fearow. However, with Drill Run being a little bit cheaper than past seasons, you are able to reach Drill Run pretty quickly, as this is still super effective damage into the Lunatone. Not enough to KO though, and SS Thorn knowing that he can hang out. Oh! And makes a huge catch on the Oranguru. Gets the full confusion through as well, but also more importantly, it's the less energy efficient move to throw into Oranguru. And now we have the Gyarados into that Oranguru matchup.
I feel like if your Nickname here, you just go for the Trailblaze, expect a shield to come up and ramp up your confusion damage. We get to see how much damage these confusions are doing to Shadow Gyarados, and how they'll be doing even more. I think it looks like 4 more confusions would be required for a knockout, so I do expect to see shields to come up for Nickname here. Oh, actually opting to no shield the Aqua Tail. It does pick up the knockout, and there goes the Oranguru.
All right, trying to go for probably a very aggressive peck down. However, if Nickname gets it, that will allow him to get to the back-to-back drill one that should clean up the Lunatone. Switch Timer's not up yet, and you can see SS Thorn reaching for one final Aqua Tail. Does get it, but I think Nickname is going to outpace this Lunatone now. SS Thorn has to swap immediately after this one. I believe actually the peck just KOs, yeah, and has, oh wait, no, not going to be able to get it, and throws the drill run, but I think that was Charge Attack priority for SS Thorn, which means that this might be the 3-0 sweep. Let's see if it was Charge Attack priority or not, and Weather Ball is reached, and yes, SS Thorn pulls off on the final turn of the match, and pulls off the 3-0 sweep over Nickname, and finds himself a spot in that Grand Finals.
I was about to say, it looked like Nickname was taking a note from SS Thorn's notebook and setting himself up for a massive farm down on that Fearow, but just not enough fast attack pressure. Allowed that second Aqua Tail to come through, needed to put up his last shield, and then SS Thorn just had the perfect energy on that Lunatone in order to reach that Ice-type Weather Ball in order to force that knockout, and that's going to be a 3-0 sweep for SS Thorn, a very dominant showing here.
Yeah, wow. They were close games though, and a lot of times, honestly, like again, it's kind of similar to Gideon. Like I don't think Nickname really made much mistakes, if at all, into S-Storm. I mean, he had that great catch on the Furo in that game. This one, he had a catch on the Rankuru with the Confusion. Looking at it again, I think S-Storm's run the same 3 Pokemon every single game in this series too, but that double Psychic Gyarados core is just insane for SS-Thorn, and honestly, he's playing like almost like his GBL, where he's just running 3 Pokemon out of his 6, but hey, if it's not broken, then no need to recreate the wheel, So, I mean, speaking of broken, it is kind of broken, actually, in the other sense, right? It's like just too strong, too good. Fantastic run from Nickname, and making it into 2 best of 5s, but unfortunately does fall a little bit short in the final one. However, still locks in that top 3 finish, and that means we have at least a top 2 finish for SS Thorn, and still has a chance to get that coveted first place crown and that $500.
Yeah, I think like a lot of times in these sorts of tournaments, you'll see players kind of coming to a better understanding of their teams over time as they play out more matches against their opponents. And I'm curious if SS Thorn, and I'll have to fault my memory for this, and maybe someone in chat could let us know if he was utilizing that Lunatone and Shadow Gyarados core as strongly in that first matchup against Nickname as he was here. Because, like, you called it out, Caleb, it seems like a core that is just going to be near impossible to break. And pairing that with a third Pokemon, whichever that Pokemon may be, whether it's just this very safe Oranguru or one other Pokemon that looks particularly good against any future opponents, like, is that just SS Thorn's key to success for the remainder of this tournament?
Yeah, I mean, and we even saw, I can't remember if it was the first game or second game, but Nickname even brought the Joqqs, right? And we're thinking, yeah, maybe that could help neutralize the Gyarados, but one, it wasn't really on the Gyarados, and two, like, if you bring it, you risk getting it onto the Lunatone. Even the Ranger has a lot of play into as well, and just puts you in a situation where you could get Sidewave down and all that stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's a fantastic team building from SS Thorn, and forget the other half of this team. Just the first 3 were good enough, I guess. And we're gonna see how that he's gonna be able to have a chance into Weedle. I don't believe, yeah, they have not played each other. They're on opposite sides of the bracket on that winner's side. So I'm sure Weedle maybe have tuned into some of this broadcast and try and take some notes and figure out how to break this core. There's really not much else to it. It's just the 3 Pokemon from SS Thorn, at least throughout our time in this losers bracket, that he's been bringing. And we don't really know what his strategies were against CGY Flames because that was off stream. But yeah, I mean, crazy losers bracket one, 2-0, 2-0, 3-0 against Nickname in that losers finals, and will be facing off against Weedle. Weedle did have the 2-0 earlier, and 3-2 against Nickname, a close one. But now we'll be facing off against SS Thorn in, if I'm not mistaken, this probably should be a bracket reset situation, potentially. Like there is a bracket reset, right, Phoebe, if I'm not mistaken?
Correct. Yeah, this is double elimination. Yeah. So same as our championship series format. At the regionals, if the winner of the first best of 5 is SS Thorn, then the bracket will reset. Both trainers will have lost a match, and it'll be again 0-0, a second best of 5 for those 2 trainers to take any learnings that they had from that first match and try to apply them into that second match. Maybe Weedle will need some extra time in order to figure out how to break that core. Or maybe, as you called out, he's been paying attention, he's been studying, he's been theory crafting in his head to figure out what Pokemon on his team of 6 will help him best to deal with the Pokemon that SS Thorn has been bringing to these matches.
Yeah, and SS Thorn, I mean, he has his work cut out for himself, right? Weedle's no easy opponent, but neither have really any of these opponents in this World's Championship. That being said, he has been absolutely thriving on the side of the losers bracket. So if he continues to go undefeated, that might be one for the record books for sure. But I'm sure Weedle has something to say about that. So we'll see what he has answers-wise for that specific matchup. I do believe, too, that there was another tournament. There was the early bird one, but there was the night tournament as well. So I don't know if we have the usage data for that one, but I'm curious to see if we do. Maybe we could pull that up as our players are getting ready for that grand finals.
Yeah, here it is. 69% and 61% for the top 2 usage Pokemon. We do see Salamence still on this list, down at 22%, and maybe some learnings for the Night Owls, 100% on that Shadow variant. You see Shelgon, which is very interesting because out of the 2 Pokemon in that family, Shelgon's actually seen some play in the Open Great League competitive circuit, whereas Salamence has not, right? So interesting to see that Shelgon is a lower usage amount than Salamence is.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the Brutal Swing probably is kind of nice for Salamence to have, and 100% Shadow. We did get some word from one of our experts in the grassroots formats, and often Devon attendee Ryblet, saying that Salamence was typically running Dragon Tail for 9-turn Brutal Swing, from what he's personally seen, and even running Bite, it probably still loses to Oranguru, is what he said. So yeah, so Dragon Tail would make sense too, especially with Kingdra being high in usage. There's a little bit of Salamence here or there, and just for the faster pacing as well, same type attack bonus makes it nice, and it just allows you to potentially even get a fly off. I don't know realistically how many situations you're in where you could Bite and even get a single fly off, let alone 2 charge attacks at that. So makes sense that they're going for the more energy oriented. That being said, too, energy oriented on the Shadow Salamence is still probably a little bit harder to pilot, and my guess is that's probably why our top 8 players did not run any Salamence.
It wins the 2 shields. But of course,
right,
that
something, you know,
that of course is you not throwing any moves, and also for whatever reason, the way this sim is set up, it's the Oranguru is also not, or no, it is throwing 2 Brutal Swings, so you're giving up 2 shields to come out with basically 1.5 Brutal Swings. Doesn't quite seem worth it.
Yeah. So it is it's interesting. Maybe we'll see this on the big stage one day, but for the time being, Salamence will be more of a spice pick, even at 22% usage in the Night Owl tournaments. And yeah, so fantastic data from this one as we are back into our World Championship setup. I believe we're going to take a quick break here before we get into the grand final, so stay tuned for that. But as always, a pleasure to cast with you, AlphaFeeb, and stay tuned for our grand finals between Emmy Weedle and SS Storm.
Hello trainers, we are here for the grand finals of the Devon Corporation Season 3 World Championships. I am back, I am Adellion, and I'm staying on. To join me for this cast is AlphaFeeb. Hello AlphaFeeb, how have these battles been for you?
It's been a lot of fun watching trainers try their best to manage energy in these like really, I want to say like low bulk situations, but like moderately less bulk than we see in the Open Great League. That's typically how it works in limited formats, is you're taking away all of the best Pokemon that have the moves, they have the fast attacks that generate energy, they have the charge attacks that hit hard, and they have the bulk to pair with it. Now we've kind of chipped away the bulk. We have good moves, good fast attacks, good charge attacks, a little less bulk, but really interesting Pokemon still are remaining. Like, of course, Kingdra's a Pokemon that we've seen do well at the limited IC metas. We've also seen Oranguru be really good at LAIC. I was kind of like hoping in my heart of hearts that it would be really good at EUIC and NAIC, but I think it was actually banned at NAIC.
Yes.
And I just thought it'd be really funny that like Oranguru could be our staple Pokemon of all three ICs this year. It unfortunately was not the case.
Alas not, but it is being a staple here in the Devon World Championships, and you make a very good point about when you strip away some of the most common Open Great League Pokemon, the thing is you get to have more novel Pokemon that a lot of trainers will not be as familiar with. Take Lunatone as an example. We've not seen that competitively in many of the limited format metas with Play Pokemon. I would dare say not with many Devon formats either, not to mention Open Great League, of course you never see it there, but to allow these trainers, some of the best in the world, to go and say, you know what, I'm not just brilliant with the Galarian Corsolas, with the Azumarils, with the meta staples, but I can be as brilliant with something that's really, really off meta, demonstrates the depth of their abilities as Pokemon Go trainers. So I am very excited for these two trainers to go at it once more to determine who will be the champion for Season 3. Do you have any leanings, any preferences as to which trainer you think will come on top here?
I gotta defend the home turf a little bit. I'm gonna be rooting for SS Thorn. I mean, obviously he's Canadian, and I'm from the United States of America. But you know, North America as a region is definitely super cohesive and all the same, right?
We'll leave that to you to make that judgment and comment. I'm going to steer very clear from that bit. However, I do agree with you that SS Thorn, brilliant trainer. He has been an international showdown champion as well, so he has done well on the official Play Pokemon circuit. He has done well on the Devon circuit as well. This man has depth and brilliance across so many different places within the game. He is facing Emmy Weedle, who is hailing from Europe, based in Switzerland, has that British heritage as well. Brilliant trainer as well, has a reputation, a EUIC champion on the official circuit. He has done well through Gym Breakers as well, representing the UK, and is demonstrating his worth here, and he's coming from the winner's side of the bracket, so there is a big advantage there for Emmy Weedle. But if there is a trainer that can find a chink in the armor of Emmy Weedle, SS Thorn is that trainer because of the experience and the depth of knowledge that SS Thorn has. So I'm very excited here. This is going to be it, our third world champion, following in the footsteps of Ryblet in Season 1 and Out of Pocket in Season 2. What crazy names to put yourself into the Devon Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I'm looking back at the previous matchup that SS Thorns just played against Nickname, and it is the same team of 6 as we see for MeWeedle. So SS Thorn's going to have to do a little bit less adjusting than MeWeedle is here, right? Because he just played a best of 5 against this same exact team. Of course, the Pokemon aren't exactly the same. Maybe their stats are a little bit different. Maybe MeWeedle has a slightly bulkier Cresselia than Nickname does, etc., etc. So we'll have to see if any of those specific intricacies of their individual teams come into play, but we'll also have to see how Emmy Weedle potentially learns from that past best of 5, or if he's going to struggle like Nickname did against SS Thorn's capabilities with the Shadow Gyarados and with that Lunatone.
Well, he was paying attention on Twitch earlier. He was watching those battles, and I'm pretty sure if Weedle, he knows how to do his research, he knows how to prepare for tournaments. He's won some of the greatest tournaments out there, so I think he would have been making plenty of preparations. I'm going to be a little bit different here. I reckon Weedle is in the more advantageous position because he's been able to see how Nickname struggled, and maybe he can form some kind of counterplay there. The difficulty, though, is SS Thorn was so decisive. How do you break that? How do you break that when Nickname wasn't able to do it 3 matches in a row? And Nickname himself, a brilliant and well-accoladed player. That's my concern.
Right, and I think over the course of that series, Nickname showed that he was able to gain more advantages in that 3rd game than he was in games 1 and 2. But even with that massive farm down on that Fearow, he was unable to break that energy advantage that SS Thorn was able to get on Lunatone and on that Shadow Gyarados. So I guess the question is, does Weedle lean into the same core 3 of Fearow, Oranguru, and Lunatone? Or does he try to opt for Togekiss, which I think was brought in one of those games? It does so well at walling the energy of Oranguru, but you see that Oranguru users aren't afraid of that matchup and just go straight Trailblaze every single time.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Let's see what they do here. Togekiss indeed coming out on Weedle's side, but it is responded to by the Lunatone. Lunatone having an advantage here, so an instant swap out by Weedle into his own Lunatone, but the advantage remains with SS Thorn, who does have a slight energy advantage, going for the rock attack to do neutral damage onto Weedle's Lunatone.
Yeah, and we pivot out to utilize the bulk of Oranguru here. I like it, and great timing from Weedle. Throwing Rock Slide, going to do good neutral damage, but Oranguru, very bulky. It's going to be just above the yellow.
Yes, and I think this is now a good time for Oranguru to consider a Brutal Swing here, but Weedle expecting a overfarm and then a Brutal Swing goes for the Weather Ball, which isn't going to knock out the Oranguru, but will lower the health a little bit, make it a little bit more farmable potentially after this Brutal Swing comes through, which Weedle chooses not to shield, abandoning the Lunatone at this point. And here comes a Togekiss back to try and get a farm down now.
And I think the difficult thing for SS Thorn and why I like Weedle's position in this game is that the 2 Pokemon in the back are both very weak to the the Gyarados is very weak to the Togekiss as well as that Oranguru, so the Togekiss was able to get up a lot of energy and potentially do really good things here in this following matchup.
Yes, Togekiss is one of the big advantages, the energy that if it's able to carry some energy over, the charge attacks are very, very strong here. On the other hand, the Gyarados is doing a huge amount of damage onto Oranguru and going for an Aqua Tail here, looking for the bait because the Crunch would deal super effective damage, is successful in getting the bait, and Weedle does fall for it, doesn't want to allow Oranguru to take any unnecessary damage with those Dragon Breaths doing so much, so opting for the Brutal Swing here at this point will knock out the Shadow Gyarados.
In comes the Lunatone. The Lunatone is in a 1-shield matchup against this Oranguru. The good thing for SS Thorn here, though, is that he's not going to be threatened by the energy on the Togekiss as much as he is on this Oranguru. So he's going to want to shield up, especially if that doesn't knock out, and it doesn't. And the Psywave. The Psywave after still does not knock out the Oranguru.
No, it does not, and there is no shield. This Trailblaze is going to do super effective damage. Lunatone does survive, now going for a race to see who's going to throw their charge attack first. Is it going to be double Weather Ball? First Weather Ball is being launched by Togekiss. This would potentially knock out a shield, must come to, but is there enough health in the tank for Lunatone to launch another Weather Ball here? Yes, there is. Oh, no, there isn't. Oh, Aura Sphere going first. A shield from SS Thorn. Is that charge attack priority?
I think it is. An Aura Sphere does not pick up the knockout through the shield. 1 damage typically goes through, but Lunatone must have had more than 1 HP remaining. The difficult thing for Weedle here, though, is that it is a 4-turn confusion at the end, which means SS Thorn is going to take game number 1 by the hair of his Moonrock.
Yes, let's go with that. That was a very close battle, and this is a demonstration that you cannot count SS Thorn out because he's coming in from the loser's side of the bracket. He knows he needs to defeat Weedle twice. I mean, I don't know about you. Looking at my talents as a battler, if I had to be asked to try and beat Emmy Weedle in one match, let alone a full game of 3 or 5 in this case, and then to have to do it twice, I would be like, you know what? It's not worth it. I know where this is going to go. I'm going to walk out the door. SS Thorn taking blood early, getting that first win, it really sets the tone that he means business, and he's going to go into a game 2. They do not waste any time, as now there's a bit of a change here. Drifblim comes out on SS Thorn's side against the reliable Togekiss from Emmy Weedle.
Interesting, SS Thorn has completely benched the Gyarados, recognizing that Emmy Weedle is much more willing to use that Togekiss than Nickname was. We see a quick Trailblaze from the Oranguru, and this is going to do neutral damage to the Gligar, but Gligar is known for being bulky, takes it quite well. Attack Raise does happen every time with that Trailblaze.
I really like this, though. To get the Trailblaze off early means that the following Confusions are going to do a bit more damage. The Night Slash does super effective and is trying to farm up a bit more. Gligar is able to get both off. It's not. He's choosing to underpower it in order to maybe get some more fast attack damage off and farm up some more energy. But is that a risk? Does that mean that another Trailblaze will be reached? No, a Trailblaze is not reached, and Oranguru does get knocked out by the Gligar. What brilliant planning by SS Thorn.
I'm curious to see, I couldn't quite tell it, maybe someone in chat saw, but it looked like Emmy Weedle stopped tapping potentially to try to get a fast attack down on that Gligar. However, because the Aerial Ace was able to be thrown, SS Thorn's able to stall out that switch clock, switch into the Drifblim here, and shields up correctly the Dazzling Gleam.
Yes, that is very true. That is a right observation. Lunatone now coming in. This is an interesting matchup because both of these Pokemon are able to launch super effective damage onto each other. The Lunatone really fears Drifblim's Shadow Ball, but then the Weather Ball and the Rock Slide are super effective from Lunatone onto the Drifblim. So shields are going to come out nice and early. SS Thorn opting to go to shield, even though this is a Weather Ball, because either one is going to do a huge amount of damage, particularly with it being a Shadow Drifblim in this case. So another shield comes out. Wow, the shields are disappearing rapidly here today.
Yeah, even though Icy Wind is not super effective, I think Emmy Weedle still needs to shield it because of the amount of fast attack damage that is coming through onto that Lunatone from SS Thorn's Shadow Drifblim. We now see that he's able to bring in his own Lunatone here, and it's not looking great for Emmy Weedle in this second game because a Weather Ball is loaded and there's just so much health remaining on his own Lunatone.
Yeah, there is. There really is. This is becoming a very challenging barrier. These trainers, both of them, respect each other's talents, know that these trainers know exactly what they're doing when it comes to timing. They very rarely make a mistake, and yet SS Thorn being very dominant here, repeating the same formula that worked against Nickname. It is proving challenging for Emmy Weedle to get around that, despite Emmy Weedle's incredible battling prowess and experience. I think your premonition and hopes of a NA victory are inching a little bit closer and closer every time. Is that exciting for you? Are you worried? Are you excited?
I'm not worried, and I'm tempering my excitement because Emmy Weedle is one of the best battlers in the world, so at no point in a best of 5 can you ever count him out. He definitely has the capabilities to reverse sweep here. SS Thorn, though, has shown more flexibility in this best of 5 than he did in the last one. He's altered his team composition. He's reacted to the Togekiss coming in game number 1 and brought a very hard counter to that Lunatone in that Drifblim in this game number 2. He was able to get that farm down, able to threaten shields with those Icy Winds, and we'll have to see if he leans into that Pokemon once again in game number 3. Looks like he's left it on the bench. Shadow Gyarados coming in the lead, and is that a Turtonator finally making an appearance here?
Yeah, Turtonator is in play, and this is the lead that Emmy Weedle wants to see with Togekiss, resisting those Dragon Breaths, which are shadow boosted as well. But Aqua Tail doing so much damage. That's incredible from Shadow Gyarados, and a swap and a catch, it seems, onto the Oranguru. But you got to remember, this is a normal and psychic type, so Aura Sphere still does neutral damage here. I am very impressed with the catch nonetheless.
And I do like this play from SS Thorn because the Gyarados, after throwing the Aqua Tail, is a bit vulnerable to the energy of that Togekiss, and it's not really threatening a fast attack down. Pivoting, catching that charge attack on the Oranguru, and trying to utilize that Gyarados in a location where it can be better, it can be worth more, I think is SS Thorn's best play. 2 Brutal Swings going into Emmy Weedle's Oranguru. I have to imagine we see a no shield here from SS Thorn. He's going to utilize this opportunity to maybe get more energy on the Gyarados, or maybe get some energy on his Turtonator.
And indeed, you are absolutely right with that prediction. Going for the Turtonator, Incinerates are going to do a huge amount of damage. I don't think Turtonator minds 1 Brutal Swing, not doing very much indeed. That Lunatone is able to swap in here. Turtonator does have access to Dark-type Brutal Swing, which is going to deal super effective damage to Lunatone. So Emmy Weedle choosing to shield and preserve that Lunatone's health, swapping now into the Gyarados. It's a race. Who wins it? And it is the Lunatone winning with the Weather Ball. So a shield must come out on the Gyarados' side.
Yeah, SS Thorn is throwing up that first shield, and Aqua Tail is loaded, and Emmy Weedle will need to throw up his own shield in response if he wants to protect the Lunatone. It looks like he's going to outpace to the next charge attack, but will he try to catch the final Aqua Tail on his Togekiss, or will he try to go for a Psy-Wave down?
Oh, well, it's not. Neither of those has happened. He's actually let the Gyarados go down, looking to press it all on Turtonator here. A huge amount of damage is being done by the Incinerates. A shield must come out here. This is a Rock Slide. This will do super effective damage. SS Thorn choosing wisely to shield, but now needs to get as much damage out as possible. Can he farm down the Oranguru? It's a 4-turn charge attack, a fast attack versus a 5-turn charge. It does get the farm down. Look at how much damage is being done, but no! Or Togekiss launches the Aura Sphere first.
Yeah, it was really smart from Emmy Weedle to get the damage through with his Oranguru there. He gave that Turtonator a lot of farm, but he recognized that the Togekiss had the Aura Sphere loaded. He's going to win that charge attack tie with that Turtonator because Turtonator's very bulky. Togekiss is very attack weighted as a Pokemon, so it's always going to win that interaction. And therefore, it doesn't matter how much energy he's giving the Turtonator. All that matters is how much health that Turtonator has. And if the Turtonator is lower on health, it's in Aura Sphere range, that's going to secure Emmy Weedle game number 3. And really, really smart win condition find from him there in game number 3.
This is a really good point you make, and I think, again, when you think of Togekiss, you think of the Turtonator, and comparing the relative attacks of both those species, these are not Pokemon you commonly see in Open Great League, and these are trainers that do have fabulous reputations on the official circuit, and they are still aware of what beats what in a charge attack priority event. Emmy Weedle piloting that very well. Let's see what he does this time, bring that stalwart Togekiss back in, this time against the Oranguru, which forces an immediate swap from SS Thorn, and Emmy Weedle choosing to stay in a little bit, trying to get a catch on the Weather Ball, doesn't get it, and Oranguru comes in instead, which is still a nice bulky response to the Lunatone.
Yeah, and it's going to be a tough match for SS Thorn here because that Togekiss is looking to be quite good into the Pokemon that he's brought. Of course, if he's able to get an energy advantage onto that Drifblim, he's going to be able to... Actually, let me take this back. I actually like the way that SS Thorn's made this team because he's now opened up the Drifblim from not having to face the Oranguru. The Oranguru is going to be brought out by the Lunatone. It's a very neutral matchup, but now the fast attack damage from that Drifblim will be able to go onto either the frail Togekiss, or it'll do super effective damage into the Lunatone.
Yes, I think Drifblim is very handy here. It is a shadow Drifblim as well, so those Astonishes are going to do even more damage. I believe it's running Astonish as opposed to Hex, and Astonish, as we know, is a very hard-hitting fast attack here. Rock Slide coming in and looking to get some chip damage onto the Emmy Weedle's Lunatone. Manages to get a Weather Ball off as well, so there's a lot of chip damage here, but Emmy Weedle kind of using this Lunatone to soak up that damage and preserve 2 shields onto Togekiss, and here comes Drifblim with a farm, but not before a little parting shot, Incineroar style, shall we say, from the Lunatone onto this Drifblim.
And really importantly, we saw the second Fast Attack go through there, and it means that the Drifblim is going to be able to pick up the knockout onto that Lunatone without the Lunatone being able to pivot out for a catch later. Dazzling Gleam does not quite pick up the knockout, but that final peck will. Icy Wind is going to come through to lower the attack of this Togekiss. The question is, does the Oranguru have enough health remaining? And I have to imagine the answer is yes.
Yeah, so much so that Weedle actually opting for the Aura Sphere here, even though Dazzling Gleam would give the same type attack bonus. I just don't think that Weedle expects Togekiss to survive long enough to get to the Dazzling Gleam. But it's being really close, and actually is able to get to a Dazzling Gleam. SS Thorn choosing not to even launch any charge attacks, looking to go for a full farm down. Doesn't get it. Dazzling Gleam does actually survive. Oranguru is able to farm down. This is incredible behavior from SS Thorn, but he secures the bracket reset. So we have, guess what? Another best of 5 coming.
Yeah, Weedle was able to take a game off of SS Thorn in that first match. And well, he's utilized that Togekiss significantly more, and SS Thorn in return has kind of shied away a little bit from the Lunatone plus Shadow Gyarados core a little bit. Shadow Drifblim looking quite good for him, especially when he's able to get it paired up against any Pokemon that's named anything other than Oranguru. The question becomes, does Weedle start to learn from SS Thorn's tendencies? He's safe swapping the Lunatone. He's trying to bait out the Oranguru to free up the Drifblim. Is this a playstyle that SS Thorn continues into the next best of 5? Or does he pivot once more and try to throw Weedle off his game?
Yes, and I think this now brings a point. Is there an argument to risk bringing Fearow as well as Oranguru? Is there an argument to have 2 normal type Pokemon there? That's the question, that because the problem I have is that Fearow, great, it can withstand all the ghost type attacks, but it's not the bulkiest of Pokemon. And the other aspect is the Icy Wind from Shadow Drifblim is still a threat. So it's a risk, but we really need to get, if you're going to use Fearow, we really must get some energy on it before you engage with Drifblim in order to give it the task of dealing with Drifblim, as opposed to Oranguru doing that instead, and then not being able to deal with the Lunatone. So it's a tricky one. It is being one of those things where the choices you make early on in terms of your team of 3 can have a significant impact. And I want to see what mind games are my words are struggling, but are being played by Weedle and SS Thorn, and who is going to go left while the other goes right in this case.
And I think Fearow's struggled a little bit in these matches today. Other Pokemon are able to pace, other frail Pokemon are able to pace to their charge attacks in 9 turns, and it's just ever so slightly outpaced to Drill Peck and Drill Run. And I think that's why we've seen it brought every once in a while, but it hasn't always shined as brightly as some other Pokemon have. Additionally, at least in that last match that SS Thorn played against Nickname, its Peck as its fast attack hasn't provided just enough damage to get farm down situations to provide it the energy that it needs, like you're calling out. So I think in order for Weedle to make that pick work, and I think it could, I think it has some really good play into the Pokemon that SS Thorn's bringing. He needs to put it in the correct positions to get that energy. But here we go into the bracket reset. It is back to 0-0, and we're seeing 2 moons on the screen. It is Lunatone versus Lunatone.
Yes, I think both trainers are opting for slightly safer lead options. They both now know what is on the line. Both of them have taken a loss. This is the difference in a lot of prize money and also the accolade of being the world champion. So the pressure truly is on. And you know what happens in pressure? Diamonds are made, champions are built, Hall of Famers are created. And now there's a swap into Oranguru, the first sort of blink from SS Thorn as he brings in a different Pokemon to try and deal with Lunatone. How will Weedle respond after this Rock Slide is launched into Oranguru?
Pivot into his own Oranguru makes a lot of sense. He gets the confusion through, which will mean that he's going to be at the same pacing for this next Brutal Swing. because of the residual energy that SS Thorn has, and he's not opting for a charge attack tie here. Maybe he knows that his Oranguru is more bulky than SS Thorn's, who would lose that interaction, and instead is going to build up a little bit more energy, throw the Brutal Swing at 2 Brutal Swings, and come out of this matchup with a charge attack for whatever comes in.
Yes, and I think SS Thorn recognizing that Oranguru has 2 charge attacks, going for the Brutal Swing onto the Gyarados here, I think it's sensible to just launch it, because even though the Trailblaze would also do a decent amount of damage, the attack buff you get from it isn't going to be all that significant, because Oranguru is going to get farmed down by the Dragon Breath pretty quickly afterwards. I mean, Weedle, not even wasting any time, says, I'm not going to give this Oranguru be farm fodder for the Gyarados, brings in the Lunatone, and now it's a race to see if he can get to another Weather Ball. He does manage it. Gyarados looking for the farm down here to have all the energy it needs to then launch charge attacks into whatever comes next.
There is still a little bit of health on that Oranguru. There are 2 shields remaining for Weedle, so it'll be curious to see if he opts to go into that Oranguru or if he goes into the Fearow. I think Fearow is a little bit safer because you could potentially get farmed down on that Oranguru, but a big crunch being thrown with 2 shields remaining for Weedle. Thought that was an Aqua Tail. It was the harder hitting crunch. That's so much damage being applied to this Fearow.
Yes, that was very scary. When I saw the no shield, I'm like, you have 2 shields, what are you doing? But doesn't matter, because the Drill Run is able to come in, and that is going to do a huge amount of damage onto the Lunatone. Fearow does have a lot of attack. Is it going to knock out? It definitely knocks out.
And this is going to be Weedle's second victory in these 2 best-of-5 matches. So putting himself up 1-0 at the beginning here is going to be a really more comfortable position after having just lost that first best-of-5. I think you made a great call. Fearow coming in, really positioning itself well, finding opportunities to get an energy advantage, and landing those hard-hitting, super effective charge attacks. Flying and ground type coverage is really good. Flying types resisted by steel, just by electric. It's resisted by rock.
And all of the...
Am I forgetting anything?
I
don't think I am.
Yes,
but you know what ground hit's super effective?
All of those.
Yeah.
So it's perfect. I mean, in Go Battle League, I have been using Fearow in Open Great League because it's been that fun to use. It does struggle with a bit of bulk, and so Weedle wisely keeping 2 shields, although I was very, very scared when he didn't use one against that Crunch, because the amount of damage that Crunch did, wow. I was like, a part of me was worried, is it going to survive the Dragon Breaths after? And luckily it did. Weedle getting that first win, and as you say, early on, because in the previous match, he didn't get that until like 2 wins in for SS Thorn. Now we see a matchup we're familiar with. We've seen it before. Togekiss even going against the Shadow Gyarados. The Dragon Breaths are resisted, but we saw how much damage these Aqua Tails do to Togekiss. A no shield by Weedle, which I think is sensible, but that means a lot of damage on the Togekiss early on.
And we'll have to see if SS Thorn opts for a similar play as before, which was to go for a catch, but instead opting to no shield the Aura Sphere. This is resisted damage due to the flying type of that Gyarados. Gyarados hangs on, able to get to another Aqua Tail right before the second Aura Sphere, and it looks like this would pick up a knockout, so Weedle is forced to put up a shield.
Yes, and I think in exchange, he's going to farm down the Gyarados and have plenty of energy to launch another charge attack. Going against the Lunatone, it is a choice here. Both attacks do neutral damage against the Lunatone. However, Dazzling Gleam would have same type attack bonus, but in this option, you are able to get 2 Aura Spheres off, which will do a respectable amount of damage. Going for a swap, and it's immediately responded by the Gligar of SS Thorn, which is great for him because the Night Slashes deal super effective damage, but he knows what's going to come. Ice is the dreaded weakness of Gligar.
In a really heads-up play by both trainers there, SS Thorn immediately pivoting into the Gligar to try to catch that second Aura Sphere from that Togekiss. Weedle, expecting that, immediately pivots himself. Night Slash going through, there is 1 shield remaining for this Lunatone. It is able to reach a secondary Ice Weather Ball, but I have to imagine SS Thorn loves energy on this Gligar and is going to go for a full fast attack down.
Yes, so there's just so much opportunity, and Gligar with all that energy, it can go in so many places. Going for the Togekiss in order to try and draw some energy out. A shield coming in from Weedle because he wants to get a charge attack off onto this Gligar. So who's going to blink first? Because that Gligar has another Night Slash loaded. Doesn't go for it. Weedle is able to launch a Dazzling Gleam. How much damage will this do?
I think it's going to put that Gligar quite low in the red, and it does look like because Weedle paused before throwing and SS Thorn opted to try to do one Fury Cutter, this is the worst case scenario for SS Thorn. He's given up all of that energy. The Lunatone does have some, but will 2 Rock Slides be enough? Or actually, it doesn't look like he's able to reach that. This first Rock Slide thrown before the Brutal Swing is reached, but I think it's only going to be an Ice Weather Ball afterwards that he has energy for.
Yeah, and I'm just a bit concerned. Will Weather Ball be enough to knock out Oranguru? Oranguru, incredibly bulky, does have a Brutal Swing loaded. Is this going to be enough? I don't think it is, but is it going to be? No, it is not. Oranguru launching Brutal Swing. This surely is going to wipe out the Oranguru, wipe out the Lunatone even. No, it doesn't, because there's an Under Farm looking to get some additional farm. Both of these trainers are in each other's minds as Lunatone is farmed down by Oranguru.
A bit of a safe play there by Weedle, going for the undercharge to get 2 more confusions through. However, the Gligar, I think, would have been in range of 2 confusions. Maybe necessary, but also just the better play, period, right? Because Weedle is setting himself up to throw that charged attack immediately. Does not need to worry about the amount of energy that was remaining on SS Thorn's Gligar there. Of course, there was none. He had thrown the energy, all of the energy that he had. And it's a very interesting endgame situation there. I think maybe a bit of a mistake from SS Thorn. I think he had his Switch Clock available to go into the Lunatone. I was expecting him to, but instead opting to throw that Night Slash after 1 Fury Cutter. And unfortunately, I would love to hear from Weedle later about this, irregardless to how the next 2, 1 or 3 matches go. But if he paused 1 turn and threw to try to get the charged attack tie, that's insane to me, because my assumption is he went to try to prevent the catch, but he got the best case scenario possible.
Yes, and it's just incredible. That 0.5 second reaction time is the sort of thing you'd expect from a world champion, an IC champion, a Gym Breakers top seed on the leaderboard. So I'm not surprised that if he's able to pull that off, and it was a calculated play. As Weedle now going for the Brutal Swing onto this Lunatone, taking out over half of its remaining health just about, and now Lunatone responds with a Rock Slide, which is going to do a fair amount of damage, but it won't be super effective, quite like how Oranguru was able to pull some of that super effective damage off.
We see the catch onto the Oranguru. Good heads-up play by SS Thorn, recognizing that the Lunatone can provide more utility in other matchups where it can hit for super effective. In comes the Togekiss, and wow, look at Weedle's backline. He's brought in the Fearow once again, and he's tried to call out SS Thorn's gameplay here, and I think he's done it perfectly because he has that Shadow Drifloon in the back. He's going to be pulling out the Oranguru here with the Togekiss, and that Fearow is looking really, really good for Weedle.
Yes, all that Fearow needs is a little bit of energy, and it can fly and soar through, wiping out everything in its path. Here comes the Drifloon. Is able to get a brilliant catch. This is going to be triple resisted Aura Sphere onto the Shadow Drifloon. It does almost nothing, and Drifloon is going to go, yep, I will float through and astonish this down. Is there even a charge attack? Saves the Aura Sphere with a switch into the Oranguru. Very clever by Weedle. Icy Wind now being responded to. This is going to knock out the Oranguru, so is a shield coming out? This is brilliant play by both trainers.
Yeah, I like the no shield for Weedle here because it removes the energy from this Drifblim, and that's really all Weedle cares about at this point. He's got to worry a little bit about the energy on that Lunatone. Icy Wind coming through here, going to reduce the amount of damage the Pex do, and I don't think SS Thorn's quite out of it yet. I see a few win conditions for him, depending on if he's able to get a Rock Slide through here.
Yes, so let's see what happens. Rockslide is being launched now. Is it going to shield? Weedle makes the right call, shields the Rockslide, which would almost certainly knock out, I reckon. Firo, very fragile, going for the Drill Peck here rather than Drill Run. I think the interesting play here is maybe looking to do resisted damage and farm down with Peck for the rest. Doesn't matter, the shield does come out because both of these attacks are the same. Tries to get a catch, doesn't manage it. Lunatone is still there with all the energy, is able to get the Rockslide off, and SS Thorn able to wipe out the Firo, but will Firo survive? It's squishy. Is it squishy enough? Is the question. Yes, it is.
And finally, a response from SS Thorn in this winners grand finals reset. It was a really smart team composition from Weedle, but SS Thorn, I think the key thing in this game number 3 was the pivot out from Lunatone, retaining energy for a Pokemon in the back. Had he not had the energy on the Lunatone, had he not had 2 shields for it, the Furo would have swept his team because the Drifblim just would have not had enough ability to counteract that Furo. The fast attack damage is double resisted by that normal typing, and you can Icy Wind, right?
Yes.
But you're also going to have not that much health remaining because you were deep in the yellow already. So I think really key in this match was that Lunatone save from SS Thorn, pivoting into the Oranguru to shore up that Lunatone. And had he not made that immediate pivot, I think this would have been a 3-0 sweep.
Yes, and that would be incredible to see a 3-0 sweep. We've seen that before. However, we want these battles to be close. It is entertaining. These are the 2 best trainers out of the entire season. The many months of various Devon metas, the various different remix metas that were used for Gym Breakers, all of these coalescing, coming together, crystallizing in this Chrysalis meta, and it comes down to this. Weedle, SS Thorn, a bracket reset, 2-1. Weedle does have 1 game as an advantage, but SS Thorn has had his number before, has broken a bracket, has broken the first best of 5 before. Can he do it again? This match is a fight for them both. If Weedle wins, that's it. If SF Thorn wins, then you know what it is, that decisive game fine that we all live for as casters, viewers, and enjoyers of Pokemon Go.
Yeah, I appreciate you left out the players part there, because I know that I would feel an immense amount of pressure and stress in a game number 5. Not only do you have the winnings on the line, but you're also, being watched by everyone who's watching this stream, and you also have the pressure of every other battle that you've played today on that final match. So for our sakes, let's hope for a game 5. But of course, I'm sure Weedle is hoping to secure victory here in game number 4.
Oh, of course he is, and he is no stranger to securing victory. I'm sure his family is backing him as well. These are battles where legends are made, where aside from what happens on the official circuit, this is where Pokemon Go PvP started. This is a legacy that has started from the Sylph Arena back in 2019 to now. This is the evolution of it, and this is the culmination of it. And it starts with Lunatone and Oranguru facing off against each other. Brutal Swing available from Oranguru, which gives it a type advantage. Type advantage in terms of combat. Trying to swap in this own Oranguru, doesn't catch anything, but hey, you'd only catch a Brutal Swing anyway, which is super effective to begin with. So Weedle launching the first one. Let's see how much damage it does.
Looking at the backlines, we see the double flyer strat once again for Weedle, but SS Thorn this time has pivoted away. He's brought that Gligar in the back, and it's not looking like it has all that many great places to go, of course. I think this is why we saw SS Thorn pivot out with that Lunatone without throwing a charged attack, right? You have your Gligar. Your Gligar is going to be that best Pokemon into that Oranguru, and in this mid matchup between Togekiss and your own Oranguru, you're fine going down shields if you're able to force switch advantage, because you're able to get that alignment that you so crucially need for your Lunatone and for your Gligar.
Yes, and what was very clever is SS Thorn actually shielded in order to get the farm down on the Togekiss, preventing all that additional energy that Emmy Weedle had farmed out, because Emmy Weedle had another Aura Sphere banked and ready. He was not able to use it because he was farmed down before he could. Fearow coming in here against the Lunatone, which is not a matchup it wants to be in, but it does have access to Drill Run now. Emmy Weedle using that shield in order to try and get some drill runs off. It is going to be a race in terms of energy. Both of these trainers have attacks which do not take a lot of energy to build up. Second Weather Ball coming, a second shield comes out from Emmy Weedle.
And the really difficult thing here for Emmy Weedle is that he has to be really careful about throwing the Drill Run into the wrong Pokemon. We actually see a no shield from SS Thorn here, going to not pick up the knockout, and we see the final Weather Ball is reached, able to hang on to both of those pecks there, and I have to imagine this is super effective damage. It's going to pick up the knockout.
Yes, it will, and all that energy on Fearow disappears as well, and there is a full health Gligar, the worst thing Oranguru wants to see. I think Emmy Weedle was banking on Fearow, trying to get that farm down, and just not managing it by a bare whisper of health was the difference between victory and defeat here, as now we get it. We get the final 2-2 end of bracket reset. This isn't just match point. This is World Championship point. This is it. It does not get bigger than this. Well, in my biased view anyway.
Well, it is called the Devon Corporation World Championships for a reason. This is everyone who has competed, has tried to get to this point. We have 2 trainers remaining, but only one battle is the difference between being first and second place for Emmy Weedle and SS Thorn. Does SS Thorn rely on that Shadow Gyarados Lunatone core, or do we see Emmy Weedle lean into that double flyer team again? He's brought it for the past few matches, really leaning into the Fearow and that Togekiss, recognizing that if SS Thorn is bringing that Gyarados, if SS Thorn is trying to bring one of his other flyers, that Gligar or that Drifblim, that Fearow is a really key piece to his puzzle to victory. But I want to, sorry, I'm rambling a little bit here, but Lunatone for SS Thorn, his play has been so immaculate, building up energy in a position where he's taking resisted fast attack damage. We actually see Gligar lead, one of the first few really strong leads for SS Thorn. Can he convert this match?
Yes, and it's immediately responded to with Fearow, and Fearow does have the energy, but Lunatone is a strong answer here for Fearow. Drill Run coming in. SS Thorn happy to tank one. Lunatone does have the bulk to withstand one Drill Run, and so here it goes, but those pecks are still going to chip away in due course. Going for the Weather Ball here, which looks to tease a shield away from Emmy Weedle. Emmy Weedle does indeed shield it, because even I think the Weather Balls are enough to threaten this Fearow with a knockout.
We see the second Drill Puck being thrown right before the second Ice Weather Ball from Lunatone. Really great timing from Emmy Weedle, and I have to imagine what SS Thorn's plan here is throw one of these moves, try to either take both shields and then have a big sweep with Oranguru later. Of course, Emmy Weedle did bring the double flyer strategy, so it'll be very crucial if he can make a final Weather Ball here.
Oh, and both of these trainers going for it. I think they both tapped their charge attacks here. Emmy Weedle getting it off a little bit earlier. Drill Puck coming in, and now it was a charge attack priority, as I said. So Weather Ball now able to knock out the Fearow, which means a little bit of that energy that Emmy Weedle had banked is no longer useful, and now it's a fresh farm down potential for Togekiss or Oranguru. Emmy Weedle opting for the second flyer, and is responded to by SS Thorn's Oranguru here.
Yeah, and really important there, the charge attack did not pick up a knockout through the shield. Great catch from Emmy Weedle here, going to mitigate the amount of damage from this Trailblaze. It is neutral damage into the Oranguru, but he actually cares significantly less about the health of this Oranguru than he does about the health of the Togekiss. Togekiss is going to be his key piece here for victory, as the Oranguru is just going to be fodder for this Gligar.
Yes, and now Emmy Weedle is able to launch the Brutal Swing onto Gligar. I think he would have maybe preferred the Trail Race to maybe get another Brutal Swing off later on, but it's fine. Weedle is able to launch another Brutal Swing and chip away at this Gligar just a little bit more. Is it going to be enough that in the end game there is enough damage out from this Dazzling Gleam onto Gligar? This is going to do a lot. Is it going to be enough to knock out? That is a key question. It does just about knock out the Gligar, and now it's Oranguru versus Joqqs. Who will blink first?
Trailblaze coming through. Dazzling Gleam is ready, and we saw how much damage the Dazzling Gleam did to that Gligar. I have to imagine this is going to be just enough to pick up the knockout.
Is it going to be enough?
That's going to knock out 3-2.
3-2. That means, trainers, ME Weedle is your Devon Season 3 World Champion. Brilliant plays from a brilliant trainer. World champion, ME Weedle, say it again at home. He is your champion for this season. Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations to ME Weedle. Really masterful Togekiss play at the end. I think catching the Trailblaze on the Oranguru, and then SS Thorn utilizing more energy in that situation, I feel like put him in a spot where the Gligar was just it was underutilized, right? You want that Gligar against the Oranguru. You're doing super effective Fury Cutters. You're doing damage with those Night Slashes. Unfortunate timing there, right? The Aerial Ace was thrown right at the same time as the Dazzling Gleam. Gligar's going to win that, or lose that, exchange every single time against Togekiss. And I don't know exactly how much damage a Dazzling Gleam from Togekiss does to Gligar, but I have to imagine that was just barely a knockout and securing ME Weedle victory in that game number 5.
Yes, that I must admit, when I was watching that Gligar, I was thinking, is this going to knock out? I was discussing it, I was casting it, I was talking about it, and in my heart I was like, I'm not sure about this. And the thing is, when you're not sure, it makes for great entertainment to watch, because it's the suspense, it's the excitement. Is it going to be enough? The same thing goes for when you're trying to get a farm town and you get it just by a slither of health, or you don't get it. Those are really big things that make massive swings on the battle, and we saw many of those. Look at how far SS Thorn had to push in order to get through. He dropped into the losers bracket relatively early on into the winners semi-final against Nickname, then had to go through Nickname yet again to fight through, and then forces the bracket reset and makes it a 3-2. Like, how close was that? This is incredible, and I must give credit to SS Thorn, because that gameplay was magical, and I think it could have gone pretty much either way. It was down to the wire right until that final match, and including that final match, I must say. So really just full of admiration for SS Thorn here. Not to, of course, take anything away from ME Weedle, our Season 3 Devon World Champion. I won't get tired of saying that, I don't think.
Yeah, congratulations to ME Weedle, and a great run from SS Thorn as well. Like you called out, he had a really good showing against Nickname in that losers finals. Really strong performance there, and he should be very proud of the way that he played. Like, really impressive matchups, really impressive catches, really from honestly both trainers, really great identification of win conditions that secured them really strong victories in those games that each of them won.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a little bit of reminders of what Devon is all about. For those of you watching, you have seen this limited format meta. This was the Chrysalis Cup, the Chrysalis meta that trainers were doing. This is probably one of the more complex metas that we did, because it was the World Championship meta. But the aim of the season is to start people off with a simple, easy to access meta, and generally ramp up the complexity and variety of Pokemon a little bit more over time. So we typically start in about October, and we finish the season in around July, and maybe a little bit of August is when we have the World Championships. And the aim for you is to take part, compete every month in at least a tournament until you build up your rapport on the Devon leaderboard. If you score particularly well on the leaderboard, you'll be invited invited to the World Championships, and then you too can be in the position that Emmy Wheeler was, winning the World Championship, the accolades, the prize money, all of these brilliant things that make Pokemon Go PvP great. This could all be yours. So I would encourage trainers to have a look, speak to your local PvP communities, or contact myself or any of the Devon team, or the casters here who've all been brilliant, I might add. They will be able to guide you further. One additional thing I'll also point out, and I know it's a little bit of a sort of a self-promotion of Devon, I would say, but of course, being grassroots, Devon is not funded by Pokemon or indeed any other body for that matter. It's entirely run for the players, by the players, and it's run by myself and this fabulous team. We're always happy to have more people who are wanting to volunteer their time and help with content, meta creation, all these kinds of things. So more than happy if people are wanting to take a greater stride in supporting grassroots, then this is the way to go for it. Just reach out and we'll do our best to help you. And of course, a donation on our Ko-Fi is gratefully welcome. This prize money doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from people contributing within the Devon sort of leadership. So any contributions financially also help for us to last another season and do great things for you to enjoy. So I'm very grateful to you for your support, watching, playing, donating, whatever you wish to do. Any words that you want to share, Phoebe?
I think that more or less covers it. We've congratulated the winner and the runner-up. It's been a wonderful time joining you and Caleb on the cast, and of course, Joqqs and Fish did a great job earlier in the stream as well. A little sad that we didn't get Martine in here, but I blame him.
I don't. I'll hold my hand to this. I basically didn't expect SS Thorn to be quite so dominant in the losers bracket and win so quickly. So as a result, the timing to get Martine on was not quite what I would have liked, but we want to obviously I do want to give a shout out to him because he was going to volunteer his time for the end of this as well. So thank you to all the casters. I want to give a big shout out to, like you say, Joqqs, Fish, yourself, and Caleb for stepping up, and Inadequance for being willing to volunteer his time if it lined up correctly. I also want to give a big shout out to our stream producers. So we had a lot of help over the years from Miss Mystic, and we've also had some help from a new producer, a beautiful man called Shivam. So we want to give big shout out to him, and to all of you viewers watching. Thank you for being you, and I hope to see you at the next Devon tournament if it's remote, or at the next Play Pokemon Championship if you're there in person. Until then, we wish you all the best and keep on battling. Thank you from all of us.